A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Jerry of the Circus. Now for Jerry of the Circus.
Well, why don't you go out in front, Jerry?
But, Bumps, I want to watch from here tonight.
Well, you won't see much of the show. The pad room's a pretty busy place.
Pad room?
That's what we call this tent. The performers always wait here until it's time for their act.
Oh, kind of a waiting room, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Then when we have a quick costume change to make, well, we do it right here.
Well, if I'm not in the way.
Oh, you can stay here if you want to, Jerry.
Aw, gee, just to see you all going out and hear the music and be close to the animals and all that.
Dig your toes into the old sawdust, it gets into your blood, doesn't it, Jerry?
How'd you know?
Say, listen, Jerry, what do you think I followed this crazy business for? Money? Say, I could make twice as much in vaudeville or a show in New York and live like decent folks.
Oh, but then you wouldn't have the animals and the traveling.
And the smells and the sleeping every night on a lumpy bed and sometimes no bed at all, huh? Yeah. But, Jerry, I wouldn't give up this life for the grandest bed in the world.
They're coming in now. Look at them scramble for the front seat.
Yeah, it looks nice and clean now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It won't last long.
Oh, Bumps, I wished I really belonged.
Oh, you'll think you belong soon enough. Wait till your arms ache from lugging heavy pails of water, and you don't have time to catch the show for weeks, maybe months.
The band's going in.
Yeah. Oh, hello there, Jim.
Hi, Bumps. Looks like a red one tonight.
I guess so. Mr. Randall said the midway was packed. Hey, now watch your dog there, Jerry.
Oh, he's all right. Always stays right by my feet. Gee, I wish someday I could do traps in the band.
Oh, you want to double in brass already, huh? Well, maybe Slim will teach you one of these days.
Oh, who's that beautiful girl?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that little dark-haired girl.
Yeah.
She is pretty, isn't she? Now, that's Patsy.
What does she do?
Why, she's the youngest trapeze artist being starred in the business today. Great future, that little girl.
She's got the prettiest eyes.
Yeah, and she's a mighty nice girl, too. Well, there it goes. The parade will be starting. Now, remember to keep out from underfoot, Jerry.
Sure, I will.
Yeah, I got to do my walk around on the head of the pageant. Well, so long, boy.
So long, Bumps. Aw, gee, Rags, isn't this swell? Rags! Rags! Rags, where are you?
If you're looking for that dog, he followed Bumps into the ring.
No, not into the main tent.
That's where he went.
Oh, gee, what'll I do?
I thought it was a new act Bumps was putting on. The dog crept along behind Bumps just as quiet. Come on, let's look through this flap.
Oh, gee.
Can you beat that?
A little mutt. Rags, come here. Gee, Bumps is trying to send him back.
Look at him. As soon as Bumps turns around, the dog sneaks back after him on his tummy. Where did he ever learn to sit on a foot and hang on like that? Look. Every time Bumps kicks him off, he does a complete somersault and gets back on Bumps' big shoes again.
He used to do that with Dad all the time.
Here comes Bumps now. Quick. As soon as he pushes the dog through the curtain, grab him.
Okay, I'll get him. Golly, Rags sure likes an audience. Oh, gee, do you think we'll get fired?
Here he comes now. Quick.
Rags, jump.
Say, that's not a dog. It's a kangaroo. Where did he ever learn to jump like that? He flew through that curtain like a shot out of a cannon.
Rags, you little mutt, you. Shh, quiet, boy. Gee, Rags, why'd you do it?
Oh, the cute thing putting his paw over his eyes. He knows he's been naughty.
I should think you would be ashamed. You're a bad, bad dog.
Oh, poor thing. He's begging you to forgive him.
He'd better. Want us both to get fired, don't you, Rags?
He's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, peeking behind your paw. Think we can't see you, huh?
Where did he learn to hide his head like that?
Oh, that's nothing. He knows a barrel of tricks. Well, come on, Rags. I guess we'd better get back to the tent.
I'll walk along with you for a ways. I don't go on for a while. Kind of like that dog of yours, don't you?
Kinda. Say, he's all I got.
Your name's Jerry, isn't it?
How'd you know?
Oh, Bumps was telling me about you tonight in the mess tent.
Your name's Patsy, isn't it?
How'd you know?
Bumps was telling me about you tonight in the pad room.
You know, your dad was a good friend of my father's. Your name's Dugan, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I've often heard Papa talk about Danny Dugan.
Danny Dugan?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not my dad, but I got an uncle by the name of Danny Dugan.
Oh, he was a big game hunter, wasn't he?
Yeah, one of the best. Say, he got wild animals for pretty near all the circuses.
I know. Father used to talk about what a wonderful marksman he was.
Before Dad died, he was trying to locate Uncle Dan.
Locate?
Yeah. He disappeared about 5 years ago, and nobody's ever heard of him since.
Is that so?
Uh-huh.
Well, maybe my father has. I'll write and see. I know he knew Danny Dugan awfully well.
Gee, you will?
Mm-hmm.
That's swell. You know, Uncle Dan's the only relative I've got. Rags, get away from that entrance. Want to get stepped on by an elephant?
Well, I guess I'd better get back to the pad room. See you later, Jerry.
So long. Come on, Rags. Well, Rags, old scout, think you're going to like this circus life? All right. I'm talking to you. I want to know how you like circus life. Well, that's better. But let me tell you one thing. You won't stay long if you pull any more monkey shines like you did tonight. Go on in, Rags. I'm following you.
Hello there, pup. Well, aren't you a friendly little thing? Where on earth did you come from? Well, a boy, too.
Hello.
Does the boy go with the dog?
He sure does.
You're not looking for a nice new master for this animal, are you?
I should say not.
Well, that's a pity. I'd like to adopt him.
Guess you'd have to adopt me, too, mister.
Well, I might manage the dog, but I don't know as I could smuggle a boy along, too.
Yeah, I am pretty big.
My name's Decker. What's your name, son?
Jerry? Something wrong?
No. Why?
You look so funny.
Did I? Sorry. Jerry. Nice name, Jerry.
The dog's my buddy. His name's Rags.
Rags. Well, Rags, old boy, give me your paw. Good. He's got nice manners, too, Jerry.
Sure, I trained him.
You did? Well, it looks like you did a good job.
Uh-huh. Well, Dad helped me.
Oh, of course. That's what dads are for. You live in this town?
Not anymore.
No?
No, I'm joining the circus.
Oh, you don't say. Does Mr. Randall know about it?
He sure does. He hired me.
Oh, swell. Then I guess I won't have to smuggle you and Rags along after all, huh?
You see, Dad was a friend of Mr. Randall's, and...
Oh, so your dad's coming, too. Well, that's...
No, Dad died just last week.
Oh, I'm sorry, son.
He left me a letter from Mr. Randall, and, well,
That's fine. Well, Jerry, it'll be mighty nice having you along this season.
Yeah.
Sure. And you too, Rag. Yes, sir. I certainly didn't mean to leave you out. Kind of sensitive, that dog, huh, Jerry?
He sure is. Lots more than folks.
Than some folks.
Oh, sure, I didn't mean you.
I wonder why you and I like animals so much, Jerry.
Because they like us, I expect.
Of course. They just think we can't do anything wrong.
We're always tops with them, aren't we?
You betcha.
And even after we've had to scold them, they'll come up for a pat or a kind word.
Pretty real kind of love, isn't it, Jerry? But I didn't mean exactly that.
What did you mean?
You know, Jerry, I like even the wildest and most dangerous animals we have in this circus.
Gee, do you? I'm crazy about wild animals myself.
I don't know why, but I'm never afraid of them. Not a bit.
Me neither.
Have you ever been around wild animals before, Jerry?
Well, no, but still, I just know I wouldn't be afraid.
That's the ticket, son. The minute they know you're afraid, well, you're done for.
Can they tell?
Sure they can.
Gee.
Why, it's like an instinct. Just like we smell things, they sense fear.
Golly, almost like mind reading, isn't it?
Well, I never thought of it like that, but maybe you're right, Jerry.
Decker!
Yes, Lorenz?
Bring those knives and hurry up. Our act goes on next.
Coming. I am absent-minded. Sorry, Sonny. I got to run along. I'll see you later. Bye, Pup.
Bye.
Wait a minute, Lorenz. I'll walk over to the main tent with you.
Daydreaming again, I suppose. Got the knives?
Here they are.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, that little freckle-faced boy that's sharing the wagon with us. He's a cute kid.
Cute nothing. And as for that nasty dog of his, he snapped at me and bit my wrist this afternoon.
Why, that's funny. He seemed friendly enough to me.
You think? Listen, that cur dog was snooping around my prop box, and I will not take that from anybody. I pushed him off, and he leaped at me, snarling. I never did like dogs, and I'm not going to have a vicious animal hanging around any wagon I dress in.
Oh, but Lorenz...
I got it all fixed. I've just put some poisoned meat under the wagon, so for the first time that dog goes out, he'll smell the meat, eat it up, and go away and die someplace. He'll be Snoopy for the last time. Lorenz one smart fellow, what you think?
Lorenz, you can't do that.
Why not?
Well, that boy worships this dog.
Yeah, well, I don't. And you keep out of this, see?
But
Listen, Decker, I've kept you out of plenty of trouble.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for me, you'd spend the rest of your life in jail, and you know it.
I know, Lorenz, and I appreciate it. But after
All
all,
right. When this dog is found dead, be sure you keep your mouth shut.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true.
Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary division. You get a call that an important piece of religious art has been stolen from the oldest church in Los Angeles. There's no lead to its whereabouts. Your job? Find it.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, December 24th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch out of burglary division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Bernard. My name's Friday. I'd gone across the street to buy stamps for some Christmas cards I was sending out. It was 9:15 a.m. when I got back to room 45. Burglary. I sat down at a table in the squad room and I started to address the cards when Frank walked in carrying a stack of Christmas boxes.
Hi, Joe.
All right.
Christmas cards, huh? A little late, aren't you?
Well, I was going to send them out Monday, but we had that stakeout.
You ought to get married, Joe.
Yeah?
It's the only system. Faye does all that stuff for me. Laundry, mails, cards. Only system.
Might help.
I brought in your present. Want to open it now?
No, I'll wait.
I always open a couple a day before.
Why?
Well, put you in the spirit ahead of time. I opened Phil's this morning.
Who's he?
Faye's brother in Denver. Gave me a magazine, one of those funny ones.
What do you mean, a comic book?
No, one of those funny ones, you know.
No, I don't, Frank.
Well, some of the pages have holes in them. You look through and there's a picture on the next page.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those on the newsstand.
They have cloth pasted in.
Cloth?
In the ads. If you want to buy a suit, they have a sample right there.
You mean you can feel it?
Reach right out and feel it. There was one for $200.
A suit?
Sure. Cloth comes from Scotland.
What's it made out of? Solid gold?
No, they got a special kind of goat over there. It's real smooth.
Not a goat, Frank. A sheep.
Well, it's a special kind of sheep, then, because the suit costs $200.
You gonna get one?
I told Faye. She said, wear the sample. Anything doing?
Fanning and Pryor were in on that market holdup.
They come up with anything?
Pound of air, nothing else.
I hope it stays quiet. I got more shopping to do.
I finished.
What'd you get in?
Stationery set, some paper and envelopes, leather binding.
Joe, you'll never learn.
Oh, what's the matter?
No woman wants a stationery set. Get her something personal.
Well, it's got her initials on it.
No. You want something more sentimental, romantic.
What'd you get Faye?
It's different in her case.
What'd you get Faye?
Sewing machine.
That's romantic.
Well, it isn't a way.
Why didn't you buy her a catcher's mitt? Burglary Friday. Yes, that's right. You have the right department. All right, Father, we'll be right down. No, you can tell us about it there. Goodbye. The old mission church, they've had a theft.
Collection money?
Statue of the child Jesus. Frank and I checked out of the office and rode over to the church at the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Main. The Old Mission Plaza Church, founded 1781, the year Los Angeles became a pueblo. The outside was typical early Spanish design, complete with mission arches. It was made of adobe and painted white. They called it the Queen of the Angels. The Padres from down in Mexico built it. The devout Mexicans in town still attended services there. 10:05 a.m. Frank and I crossed through the courtyard. It used to be the old stable, but the Spanish priest changed all that when it became a mission. Stonemasons paved the stable floor and made it a courtyard. They planted grapevines, trees, and flowers. A young priest crossed the courtyard to meet us. He'd been sitting on a stone bench reading his morning prayers, as priests had done here for 172 years. We asked for Father Xavier Rojas, who communicated with us. We were told he was inside. We entered a side door. The church seemed to glow with the hundreds of votive candles flickering on both sides of the altar and at the shrines throughout the church. It was empty except for a few people praying. Surrounding the main altar were several old oil paintings in gold frames. The air was heavy with the scent of Advent flowers. We found Father Rojas up near the sanctuary, looking at the nativity scene. He told us about the crib. It was a $70 duplication of the scene at Bethlehem. The parishioners had taken up a collection for it 31 years ago. was put up every year on December 22nd and taken down after the holy season. It was beautiful, except that one of the shepherds had lost an arm, the sheep was old and cracked, and the infant Jesus was missing. Father Rojas led us back into the sacristy.
I'm sorry to bother you, man. All right, Father. Especially now, the holiday season.
We cash our checks, Father. You want to tell us what happened?
Or what you think happened? I discovered the statue was missing right after the 6 o'clock Mass. You say the 6? Yes. I started over to the rectory and stopped by the crib.
Was the statue there before Mass?
I don't know, but it was there last night.
How late is the church open?
All night.
You leave it wide open so any thief can walk in?
Particularly thieves, Sergeant.
You say it was there last night, Father. How late?
10 or 11 o'clock. We had confessions. No one saw it after that? One of the altar boys. He says it may have been there. He thinks it was.
Did he see it?
He's not sure.
What's his name?
Pardon me. Here's the schedule. You'll find the names for every Mass there.
Was there a big crowd at the 6 o'clock Mass, Father?
Not too many. 7's the big one. People on their way to work.
Did anyone stay after Mass, did you notice?
Not especially. I came back here, took off the vestments. I suppose it was 10 or 15 minutes before I went back in the church.
It was empty then?
No, people were coming in for the 7 o'clock.
Are these the altar boys, James Cornine and Joseph Heffernan?
That's right. Joe's the one who mentioned it might have been there.
Did you check with the other priests, Father?
Before I called you. None of them knows anything about it.
Just for a check on the pawn shops, how much is the statue worth?
In money?
Well, that's the point in pawn shops, Father.
Only a few dollars. We could get a new one, but it wouldn't be the same. We've had children in the parish. They've grown up and married. It's the only Jesus they know.
We understand.
And we've had children who died. It was the only Jesus they knew. So many of the people who come here are simple people. They wouldn't understand, Sergeant. It would be like changing the evening star.
We'll do our best, Father.
That's why it would mean so much to have it back for the first Mass on Christmas.
It's not very long, Father.
Less than 24 hours.
If anything turns up here, you know where to get in touch with us.
Yes. Sad, isn't it?
How's that?
In so short a time, men learn to steal.
Yes, but consider us, Father.
Us?
If some of them didn't, you and I'd be out of work. 10:50 a.m. We notified pawn shop detail. Frank and I checked out the 2 altar boys. The first one, James Cornine, said he knew nothing about the missing statue. The second one, Joseph Heffernan, was not at home. His father said he had a part-time job, but he'd have him get in touch with us right after lunch. By 11:30 a.m., we'd run out of book procedure. We had a man to find. Our only clue, he'd been to church. 11:33 a.m. We checked the phone books for the names of religious stores in the area. 2 of them were closed. We tried the third. When we got there, the only person in the store was an elderly man sitting by a table. In front of him was a large, beautifully carved chess set. We're police officers. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
Great to see you. Caught me in the middle of a big chess match.
Where's your partner?
Up in San Jose. We've been playing for years.
Same match?
No, just 2 or 3 months on this one. What I meant was we've been playing different matches for years.
I see.
You know, we do it through the mail. I send him a move, he sends me one.
Must keep you on your toes.
Except during the holidays, the mail gets all fiddled up. That's no good.
Guess not.
Slows things down, that's no good. I like to catch him off guard.
You Mr. Flavin?
How'd you know? We never met.
Your name's on the window out front.
Mr. Flavin, we checked the other 2 religious stores in this neighborhood. They're closed.
It's the best one anyway. 50% European items.
We're checking the stores around the Mission Church.
For what?
Statue of the Child Jesus. Do you have one we could look at?
Sure.
No, sir, a larger one.
You don't want a larger one, unless it's for a church. That's why you want a larger one.
Could we see it, please?
It's not my due to butt in. But unless you live in a big place, this will make your living room all the cuter.
Yes, sir. Do most of the people who go to the Mission Church trade here?
Good many of them, especially the kids.
Why kids?
More religious. Check on yourself. See if kids aren't more religious than you.
Might be so.
That's what's wrong with the world. Oh, I don't mean you're wrong with it. Everybody.
Yes, sir. What if we could stick to the point, Mr. Flavin?
Sure. A lot of people from the Mission Church come in here.
Do people ever come in and sell back a religious article?
Like a prayer book or rosaries?
Yes, sir.
Second-hand, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Not since I've ever been around. It's silly.
Why?
People don't have religious articles so they can get rid of them. They have them so they can have them.
But if a man had a statue and wanted to sell it, he'd come to a place like this.
Sure, but he wouldn't want to sell it.
He would if it was stolen.
No, sir. If a man was to steal a statue, he'd be crazy or something like that. The only place he'd want to go is where crazy people are.
You may be right, Mr. Flavin.
I don't know what you fellas are looking for, but if it's somebody who stole a statue, he's crazy and you won't find him. You won't find him as long as you live, or in a million years.
That should cover it. We checked religious stores out as far as Van Ness. We asked the same questions. The owners gave us the same answers, but none of them were as encouraging as Mr. Flavin. Frank and I had lunch and reported back to the office. It was 1:30 p.m. when we started into the squad room. The captain was just coming out. I just checked for you in the lunchroom. And we've been down on that theft at the mission. May get some action on the Patterson case. They locate him? They think he's on the bus from Sacramento. Well, that means the Bakersfield police. We'll wait and see.
One of you fellas, Sergeant Friday?
He is.
I'm Drew Heffernan. My father said you wanted to see me.
Well, sit down, son. You didn't have to come in. A phone call would have worked.
My father said to get on over. He says that any kid that uses phones is lazy.
We want to ask you about this morning. You serve 6 o'clock mass?
Yes, sir. I'm senior boy. So I get the 6th.
You're a senior and you take the early trick?
Yes, sir. That way, if you receive communion, you get to have breakfast sooner.
Father Rojas says you think the statue was there before mass.
I didn't look, but I have a feeling it was there.
A feeling?
You know, how you have a feeling about something, but you're not sure.
Did you stay around long after mass?
I put out the candles and hung up my surplice.
How long would that take?
About 5 minutes, maybe.
Did any of the people at mass stay on?
Some of them always do, especially ladies.
Oh?
Maybe they don't finish in time, or else they start new prayers. I don't know.
So when you left, there were still some women there?
No, sir. That was at first. After I went back to the sacristy, there was only this one man.
What man?
He comes at 6 o'clock all the time.
Do you know his name?
No, sir. But he works down in Olive, paint shop, where they paint signs.
Could you describe him?
Sort of medium. He was wearing a suit that didn't match.
Didn't match?
Different pants than coat.
How about his age?
Oh, he's pretty old.
Take a guess.
About 40, maybe. There's nothing particular about him.
Then why'd you notice him?
I've seen him before. And the bundle, I guess.
The bundle?
Out in front. I saw him when he was coming out. He had this bundle, and he almost dropped it.
How large a bundle?
It's hard to say.
Come on, son. Was it large or small, the size of the statue?
About that big. Yes, sir.
We located the sign shop. The suspect didn't work there anymore, but we discovered his name was Claude Stroop. We found out where he lived. 2:25 p.m. We arrived there. It was a hotel for men, mostly old men, mostly down and outers. It was called the Golden Dream. Police officers. We're looking for Claude Stroop.
Hope Claude didn't get in any trouble.
So do we. Is he in?
No. He's got room 307. You can check if you like.
We'll take your word. Were you on this morning?
Yeah, the early shift. Oh, we don't have shifts. My uncle owns the place. I'm the shift.
Did Stroop spend last night here?
Came in about 11.
When did he leave this morning?
Around 6, maybe before.
Did he come back after?
8 o'clock or so. Then left. Supposed to be back at 10. And pulls this trick.
What trick?
Our program. He knows the other fellas need him.
Program?
Here at the hotel. Every Christmas we have a program. Put up a tree and sing. They're mostly old fellas. Singing like that makes them remember back when they were kids. Then Jimmy Finn comes on.
Jimmy Finn?
He shares number 409. His family once had a lot of money, so he tells the fellas about it. Stories about Christmas. How they had this big log, and his grandfather used to start it up, and after dinner everybody turned over his plate, and there underneath was a $20 gold piece. Brand new one.
When Stroop came in this morning, did he have a bundle?
I didn't see him come in.
You said you saw him.
I saw him go out after, but not come in.
When was that?
8. If you want to look for a bundle, I could give you his key.
We don't have a warrant.
It's all right. I know about police. It's all right with me.
It's not with us.
I didn't mean that. I just meant it was all right with me.
Good King Wenceslas looked down on the feast of Stephen.
There were 3 old men. We couldn't tell how much better they would have been with Stroop singing the 4th part, but somehow you didn't care. This was Christmas at the Golden Dream, and it sounded fine.
That night, though the frost was cruel, when the poor men came in sight, carrying winter fuel.
This is the last rehearsal. I got most of the songs down pat.
Sounds pretty good.
That's why it's a shame Claude isn't here. He's tenor, and they need him to make it sound just right.
Does Stroop have a job?
No, sir. He used to have jobs. Not much lately, though.
Did he say where he was going?
No, he should have. The fellas need him.
When he comes in, will you call us?
Sure, and not say anything to him.
That's right.
I hope it's nothing serious for Claude. Fella's troubles ought to be over.
Troubles?
Way back. It wouldn't count now.
Tell us anyway.
I don't know much about it.
As much as you know. Now, come on.
It was something back where he used to live. He robbed somebody or something.
What else?
That's all. It was a long time ago, way far back. But he forgot it all, the robbing and everything.
No, not quite. He remembered it this morning.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. For Jesus Christ our Savior was born upon this day to save
We went back to the office and ran Stroop's name through R&I. If he'd been booked anywhere, we had no record of it, at least not under that name. 4:15 p.m. Pawn shop detail reported back. No object resembling the statue of the child Jesus had been turned in. 4:18 p.m. I hung up the phone.
Patterson's on that Sacramento bus. I thought Bakersfield had it. They were supposed to confirm. They did. Hopworth Station.
What about Fanning and Pryor?
They're still out.
Well, they'll be back soon. When's the bus arrive?
6 o'clock.
Well, there's plenty of time for them to make it.
There's more time for you.
We're still in that theft.
Can it wait?
No.
What is it, $10, $15 statue?
When's the price determine a case?
I realize it's a church statue, but that doesn't give it priority.
It's important to them, Captain. Joe and I promised to get it back.
What do you got on it?
Nothing much.
And why are you so big-hearted?
Burglary Friday. When? No. Don't say anything. No. Right. It's Claude Stroop. He just walked into the hotel. He's our suspect.
Nobody's leaked to him?
No.
He'll keep. You can run him down tomorrow.
It'll be too late then.
They need it for the first mass in the morning, Skipper. It's kind of a big thing for them. I'm sorry. I can't juggle details around so you get a statue back. If this time later on, we'll do our best.
Yes, sir.
You better get over to the station.
Yes, sir. Will you call Father Rojas over at the mission?
Why?
Tell him we're too busy to work on that statue.
Well, we'll do it later. Tomorrow or when we get a chance. Why can't you call him?
Well, we better get over to the station.
If Patterson's on that bus, we don't want to miss him. All right, I'll call him.
Righty.
Yeah. I can send Fanning and Pryor over. You might as well stay on that other thing.
Whatever you say, Captain.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
p.m. We arrived at the Golden Dream Hotel. The desk clerk was right. Claude Stroop looked like a man who'd had his troubles at bargain rates. Your name, Claude Stroop?
Yes, sir.
Police officers. We'd like to talk to you.
I didn't do anything against the law. Honest, I didn't do anything against it.
You haven't been accused.
I want to take you downtown.
We'd like to talk to you.
No, sir, I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to talk to anybody.
You're half wrong already. .15 p.m. We returned Stroop for interrogation. He kept his word. He refused to talk. 6:05 p.m. Frank called Fay, told her he'd be a little late. Stroop didn't move for a whole hour. He sat and stared, but he didn't talk. 6:40 p.m. We got a final report from pawn shop detail. The shops were closed. There was no statue. Stroop still hadn't talked.
Don't you ever want to go home, Stroop? If I was to talk, he wouldn't let me go.
Depends on what you'd say.
I'd say it wrong, and I wouldn't get home.
You won't this way either.
I'd like to go. You can bet on that. This is the 7th year we had the program, and I never missed a one. Not a single one.
Why don't you tell us what happened, Stroop?
How would I know you'd let me go?
You wouldn't.
I might as well anyway.
All right, what happened from Mass on?
Well, there was Mass. I came out and started down toward the hotel.
Back up.
I left my stuff at the hotel, and then I picked up George's car. I didn't steal it. He said I could have it any time I wanted. Only this time I didn't ask him. I took it and started out.
Well?
I should have asked, but I just didn't. I went over to Grand Avenue for the Christmas bulbs where this fellow sells them secondhand. It was coming out of the lot, but I did.
Yeah?
The bumper must have caught the other car. Didn't leave too big a dent, but there was this long scratch. I got out and tried to wipe it off with my handkerchief. You know, spit on it like. Only it didn't do no good.
I didn't think anybody saw. I don't know how you fellas found out about it.
I'll check auto records. Right. Stroop, we didn't bring you down here to talk about that.
You didn't?
No. There's a statue missing from the church. The statue of the child Jesus.
You mean I took it?
You took a bundle out of church?
Yes, sir. That was my other pants for the program tonight. I had a place sewed up and there was a button on it. You can check. But I wouldn't take a statue.
I don't think you would either. He's clear at auto records. Go on home.
For the program? You mean it's all right?
Good night, Stroop.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Where to? Well, I don't know. We could stay and work on it tonight.
Wouldn't do any good. We won't find it.
I don't think so.
No use kidding the priest. Build his hopes up.
Might as well go tell him now. Merry Christmas. "7:27 p.m. We found Father Rojas. Frank told him how it was, that we couldn't get the statue back by morning, but that we'd keep trying during the week. He said he understood. We told him we had to get on. As Frank and I started to leave, the doors at the main entrance to the church opened. It was a good 200 feet away. It was hard to be sure, but it looked like a small boy drawing a bright red wagon behind him. When he got closer, you could see he was no bigger than a pint of milk. He was a luminous-eyed little Mexican boy with a face as young as yesterday. The priest seemed to know him.
Paquito?
In the back of the wagon was the missing statue of the child Jesus. He picked it up gently and walked up to the priest.
Padre Rojas?
He just stood there, looking up at Father Rojas.
It's Paco Mendoza, the boy from the parish.
Ask him where he found it.
¿Dónde lo encontraste?
No lo encontré, le cogí esta mañana.
He didn't find it, he took it.
Why?
¿Por qué?
Todos los años Paquito rezó por un camioncito rojo. Este año Paquito rezó al niño Jesús. Yo prometí al niño Jesús el primer viaje en mi camioncito.
He says all through the years he's prayed for a red wagon. This year he prayed to the child Jesus. He promised that if he got the wagon, the child Jesus would have the first ride in it.
¿Vendrá el diablo para llevar a Paquito?
He wants to know if the devil will come and take him to hell.
That's your department, Father.
No el diablo. Jesús ama a Paquito mucho.
We crossed over to the sanctuary. With the help of Father Rojas, the young boy replaced the infant Jesus in its rightful place, the crib in the nativity scene. Frank and I could have been wrong, but the small plaster statue seemed to approve. Mary, Joseph, the wise men, Gaspar, Melchior, Balthazar, the old shepherd, the young shepherd, the peasant, they all seemed to approve.
Vuelve a tu casa, Paquito.
The priest told the boy to go home. He took hold of his wagon and started the long walk out of the church. There wasn't much we could say. There wasn't much to say. We just stood there and watched him go. Halfway up, he turned to look back, and he went on out.
I don't understand how we got that wagon today. Don't kids wait for Santa Claus anymore? It isn't from Santa Claus. The firemen fix old toys and give them to new children. Paquito's family They're poor.
Are they, Father?
The story you have just heard is true. The names and locations were changed.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Pat Novak for hire.
Sure. I'm Pat Novak for hire. That's what the sign out in front of my office says. Pat Novak for hire. It's about the only way to make a living down on the waterfront in San Francisco. Because around here, a set of morals won't cause any more stir than Mother's Day in an orphanage. Maybe that's not good, but that's the way it is. And it wouldn't do any good to build a church down here, because some guy'd muscle in and start cutting the wine with wood alcohol. All you can do is try to make the books balance, and the easiest way to do that is keep one hand on your billfold and the other hand on somebody else's. Oh, I rent boats and do anything else that'll buy a warm winter. It works out all right. It saves the government a lot of money. But if anything goes wrong, your trouble comes hard. It doesn't do any good to sing the blues, because down here, you're just another guy in the chorus. I found that out Wednesday afternoon. It started to rain up by Pier 19, and I knew there was a storm on the way. The bay looked flat and smoothed over, but you can say that for a lot of quarrels. So I closed the office and walked down to the barber shop for a shave. The barber lathered me up so I couldn't answer back and started to tell me how Dean Atchison ought to handle things. About 5 minutes later, somebody walked into the shop and started tapping my foot. He got tired of that and moved up to my chest.
Hey, you listening? Hey.
Stop pushing. That's my chest, not a buzzer.
Are you listening?
Yeah. What's on your mind?
Hey, I want to talk to you alone.
He's a barber. He won't listen.
Let's go alone.
All right, let's go. I'll be back in a minute.
How do you like that? I got a 14 costume white. He says...
I want to hire you tonight. Will you do something for me?
Not for friendship.
I give you $200 to follow a woman.
I've done it for less.
Not this kind. Her name is Agnes Bolton. You'll find her at 7 o'clock tonight down at this bowling alley. Here's the card.
Mm-hmm.
Address is there.
How do I spot her? Read it off an ankle bracelet?
You won't have any trouble. She's a large woman, about 50 years old, with a reddish face.
Oh, that's no help. For 50, she sounds normal.
Not Agnes. She couldn't pass for 90. She'll be playing in the last alley with a women's team called the Playmores.
Yeah?
You'll follow her out of the bowling alley. Somewhere along the line, she'll pick up a green leather bag. After that, I need your help.
It doesn't sound like love.
She'll go to the yacht harbor. Get aboard a boat called Seventh Heaven. I want you to have your boat ready and follow her into the bay. She'll leave that bag aboard some ship. I want to know the name of it.
Now, is that $200 worth?
Yes. I'll wait for you in your office. Contact me there and be careful.
Is she that tough?
No, but her friends are.
With a figure like that, how come she's got any?
They're holdovers. I'd just be careful.
Yeah, well, it sounds easy at these prices.
That depends on your luck, Mr. Novak. If it turns bad, you've been cheating.
He stood at the door for a minute, and his eyes swept the shop like a $10 broom. And then he turned around and walked off. Well, you couldn't tell anything from his face, and his smile was as smooth as a pound of liver in a bucket of glycerin. Well, after I finished, I went down to Pier 19, and I took the boat up to the yacht harbor. I tied up near the Seventh Heaven, and I started downtown to that bowling alley. It was ladies' night, and I stood against the back rail and watched the women bowl. Most of them were wearing slacks, and if I ever get a few bucks ahead, I know the right business. At least the demand is there. About 10 minutes after I got there, Agnes Bolton showed up, and I knew right away Max Hunter overrated her. She was at least 50, because you can't get that ugly without years of practice. She was wearing a green woolen dress, and her figure wasn't any worse than a bale of cotton somebody's cut the wire on. The fat hung down from her arms, and there was so much of it you knew even her bones were plump. And Max was right about her complexion. It was red and scratchy as if she used a bag of sand for cold cream. Well, I must have stood there about 10 minutes watching them bowl when the other girl came up. I didn't see her, but I felt her as she brushed up against me from behind. She leaned on the railing close to me, and when she started to talk, it was like grafting a hot iron onto your spine.
You look sad, Mr. Novak. Is it the view?
What are you, the repair squad?
No. I want you to do me a favor.
You do me one. Slide over. I bruise easy.
Oh?
Now, what's on your mind?
I want you to do me a favor. Don't follow Agnes Bolton.
You're pretty, but I got Max Hunter's dough.
I'll help you spend it. Don't let Agnes Bolton get to that boat.
Look, Angel, go warm up an armory. I got a deal.
Suppose I tell Agnes Bolton you're going to follow her.
You tell her first without tagging by here. Now, if you got something on your mind, lay it on the line or relax.
I want her worse than Max Hunter does. When she gets that green bag, I want you to bring her to me.
I couldn't move her that far. You better rent a derrick.
Please, Mr. Novak. It's important to me. I want to talk to Agnes Bolton. I can give you more money than Max Hunter.
You haven't got enough to cover, lady. You're talking about kidnapping, and that's a federal rap. The answer's no.
You're sure?
Unless you want to change the offer.
I hope you make it, darling.
I may.
Don't bet you $200. It's bad to die broke.
Is anybody that tough?
Now it's my turn to brush you off. Go ahead and follow her, Mr. Novak. But I'll bet you have to roll her the last couple of miles. And unless you can prove it's an election bet, the police will cause you trouble.
Well, I watched her as she turned her back and walked out of there. She looked real good. She was wearing a tight jersey dress that gave you the idea she either thought the weather was warm or she wasn't much on details. Well, I turned around and looked for Agnes Bolton. The game was breaking up, and she started into the dressing room. A few minutes later, she came out and started down Market Street. There was no trouble following her. You could see her in the crowd. And she rolled from side to side as she walked, and when she bumped into anybody, they looked back at her as if they'd been hit in the chest with a sack of jelly. She crossed the street at Stockton, went into a little coin shop. She came out about 5 minutes later with a green leather bag. She strapped it over her shoulder, and she held onto her purse with the other hand. At Powell Street, she got on the cable car up near the front. I moved up there to be safe. She looked heavy enough to tip a cable car uphill. In that light, she didn't look any better. Part of her hair had come undone and hung down in her face like the branches on a dead tree. I noticed her eyes for the first time. They were small and so close together they could have saved time and put them in one socket. Well, she got off the cable car at Geary and walked into a hotel. I followed her and watched her squeeze into a telephone booth on the other side of the lobby. The way she fit, a sardine ought to be happy. She took some money out of her purse and started to dial. A couple of people moved in front of her, and I didn't get a look at her for about 5 minutes. And when they moved away, she was still talking to somebody. I looked up about 10 minutes later, and I knew something was wrong. Her head was pressed against the phone. She'd run out of conversation. I walked across the lobby and opened the door to get to the phone booth. She fell out as old as she'd ever get. There, hey, help me get her over to the couch, will you?
Yes, sir. Was she your wife?
Well, she was. This is the way I'd want her.
Her purse is spilled all over the floor. Sure is a mess.
Yeah.
She's some relative, huh?
Look, mister, stop trying to pair us up. I was around when she tumbled out, that's all.
Yeah. What'd she die from?
I don't know.
I just figured you might know what she died from.
No, I don't.
That's a simple question to answer when you know what she died from.
All right, let me through here. Come on. All right, stand back. Give her air.
She can't use any more, Copper.
Huh?
She quit about 5 minutes ago.
Who are you?
I'm not dead. She is.
Then who's she?
You better check on her stuff, and don't forget that green bag.
Yeah. What bag? The green bag over there on the floor. Well, it was over there a minute ago.
The same one the little guy had?
What little guy?
The one who was talking to you. He just walked out of here carrying a green bag.
Oh, I got out on the street, and the little man had just crossed Geary. He turned and looked back once, and I saw him melt into the crowd and disappear quick like the wake of a ship on a dark night. When I came back to the lobby, the copper was over to the couch making noises in his throat as if he was trying to eat a pound of cellophane. The manager of the hotel was wringing his hands and making little steps like a ballet dancer with a hot foot. The copper took my name and put in a call to homicide, and a few minutes later, I got into that phone booth. There was a number on the pad, and I took it down. It was Greystone 42961. Well, it didn't prove much, but Agnes Bolton wasn't out to prove much tonight. I began going through the phone book, but there was no Max Hunter listed, and when I called the office, nobody answered. I knew there was as much chance of him showing up as a second piece of butter on a 50-cent lunch. I ran down that Greystone number and found out it was an address out on Post Street. I walked through the lobby and out the side door. Some of the people were out of the dining room, and they looked mad because Agnes Bolton had died during the roast beef instead of later. Well, I walked down Geary to the Union Square garage and gave the guy my ticket. He started down the ramp for the car, and I stood there waiting. I must have looked lonely, because Hellman from Homicide shoved up near the cashier's cage and started over. He made his way through the cars, and as he squeezed by the last one, he looked like a sea lion.
Hello, Novak. We identified her.
Well, you had lots to work with, Hellman.
Where are you going?
Out on Post Street.
I'll go with you. Her name was Agnes Bolton.
You read it somewhere?
She was a government agent.
They got their money's worth.
Coroner says she died of quick poison.
How quick?
5 minutes.
You're working him too hard, Hellman.
He's got a license. He says 5 minutes.
She was in that phone booth 10 minutes. Nobody got to her.
She looked dead to me, Novak. I don't believe you.
Well, I'm hurt.
I don't believe a thing you say.
That's up to you. I'm not starting a religion, Hellman. I watched her for 10 minutes. Nobody got to her. You better check on that little guy.
Yeah?
She was carrying a green bag. A little guy walked out of there with it.
He sounds hard to find. You don't.
Hey, mister, is this your ticket?
Yeah, it's a blue nag.
Well, you better come down and drive it up.
Why?
I can't get to the wheel. The guy on there won't move.
Huh?
I don't blame him either. When you're dead, you got a right to rest.
Hellman stood there a minute wiping his teeth with his tongue, and it began to sound like somebody beating the bathtub with a piece of steak. When he finished making noises, we walked down the ramp to the car. It was the little guy who had taken the green bag. He was hunched over, and he was grabbing the wheel as if he'd just married it. Hellman lifted his head up and laid him across the seat. The light was bad, but you could see a little of his face. There was watering around his forehead, and the damp hair was plastered down under his hat brim. The perspiration had broken up and started to run down his forehead like tears, and you got the idea he cried out of his hairline instead of his eyes. He didn't look surprised or pained. He just stared with a puzzled look as if he'd missed part of the conversation. Hellman stood there trying to wipe some egg off his coat and turning to look at the guy to make sure he didn't leave.
So what happened, Novak?
So he had an automobile accident, Hellman. I don't know.
He's your passenger?
He bummed the ride himself. When I saw him, he was on his way with that green bag.
Where is it?
He got talked out of it. You better check on a guy named Max Hunter.
Whose cousin is he?
He gave me $200 to tail Agnes Bolton. I got another offer, too.
Yeah?
A blonde biscuit, and she said everything on the beat.
For a total stranger, you sure met a lot of people.
You better meet a lot of them, too, Hellman, because one of them got to Agnes Bolton.
How about Junior here? Did he crawl down the ramp and die on your seat covers?
I don't know how he got here.
Well, maybe you left him here and forgot.
No, he wouldn't slip my mind. I haven't murdered anybody in the front seat.
Well, but it's lively, though. You better get a story, Novak.
You already got mine, Hellman.
You won't like the ending.
No, but I'll bet you do.
I like it fine, Novak. You're the only lead on Agnes Bolton. I'll shop around and get enough to pin you down.
You couldn't pin down a dead butterfly, Hellman. You better look up Max Hunter and check on a boat called the Seventh Heaven.
I will, and I'll put a tail on you, Novak. Follow you all over San Francisco. He'll go any place.
That's fine, because I got a suggestion. As soon as Hellman left, I took a cab out to that address on Post Street, but it was a waste of time. I might as well have been peddling tip sheets in a monastery. There was a brown house on the corner, and there was a big curved window that stuck out from the rest of the house like a wart on the back of your neck. A toothy old man answered the door and said he didn't know Agnes Bolton. I was pretty sure he was on the level. He just kept nodding his head and rubbing the wrinkles on his face. There were enough of them there to bundle up and sell as a canal. I left, though, downtown. On the way, I went by the yacht harbor, and the Seventh Heaven had moved out into the stream. Well, it was raining harder now, and the docks looked shiny as if somebody had given them a coat of egg white. Well, I had a couple of places to hit, so I looked up Jocko Madigan. He's a good guy who never learned that if you keep your foot on a bar rail for 20 years, it'll do more good for your arches than it will for your brain. I finally found him in the hunt room of the Bellevue Hotel.
A drink for Mr. Novak. Something to take off the chill.
No, I don't want a drink, Jocko, and you've had enough, too.
I refuse to shiver to death, Patsy. I'd look terrible with a blue face.
Will you stop drinking, Jocko?
I hate whiskey, Patsy, but I'm drinking tonight with a purpose. I made a deal with Charlie the bartender to buy every 8th drink, and I've got him on the run. By morning, I'll have him in bankruptcy court.
Look, Jocko, I'm in trouble.
I always know when I've had enough to drink, Patsy. When I tilt the glass up, the rim rubs against the bridge of my nose. It's a sort of safeguard, so that when my nose begins to break out in blisters, I know I've had enough for the night.
Will you listen?
Patsy, you sound like a young girl coming home from boarding school. You'll never be on the right side of things. You'll always be in trouble because you're a bad citizen. You're a shabby half-step in the march of progress.
All right, Jocko.
You don't know the difference between good and evil. For you, all of human endeavor is a vague blur in high heels, and your vocabulary is a few gutter terms sandwiched in between yes and no. You'll never be any good, Patsy.
Yeah.
You might as well try to recapture melancholy or ventilate a swamp. You haven't a chance, Patsy. You'll never be any good.
Are you all through, Jocko?
Yes, if you're going to be touchy.
Hellman wants me on a murder rap.
Yes?
Some tubby woman died in a hotel lobby.
Sounds like his mother.
She was a government agent. I followed her in there.
Patsy, you've got to start trusting the government.
I was paid to follow her, but she ate some poison somewhere along the line.
That's the trouble with food.
I got hired by a guy named Max Hunter.
Look him up and resign. That's the best way out of this thing.
I don't know where to find him, and I think that Max Hunter's a phony. Oh, you got to help me.
Yeah?
Now, he gave me this card. His prints must be on it. Check it down at headquarters, will you? Find out if he's got a record and then tag by my place.
Yes, I better have a drink first. There's an ugly taste in my mouth. I think it's saliva.
Will you hurry up, Jocko? All you do is drink.
That's all I have left, Patsy. I'm too young to die and too old to do almost anything else.
Yeah, sure.
It's true, Patsy. When you get to be my age, most of the quiet pleasures are fattening, and most of the active ones would kill me. Good night, lover.
When I left Jocko, I dropped by the Chronicle morgue to look up Max Hunter. There was nothing under Hunter. I looked through every Max from Bear back to Beer Bum, and I couldn't find a thing. Well, it was close to 11 when I rode down to the office for a final check. It wasn't raining hard anymore. It was a nice, easy drizzle. You could hear it playing against the sheds along Pier 19. It sounded quiet, almost private, like the sound a woman makes when she runs her fingernail up and down her stocking. It got on your nerves at first, and then you began to enjoy it. The minute I got to the door, I knew something was wrong. There wasn't any reason, but I got the feeling. The same way you know sometimes when you're going to get the busy signal on the phone. I could see her lying there on the floor before I turned on the light. You took one look at her, and you knew she was the sort of girl whose name ought to be Pearl or Myrtle. Somebody'd sapped her, and she was lying with one hand stretched out and the other under her hair. It wasn't really hair. It looked more like a pelt or a raccoon just after a shampoo. It was fuzzed up on the sides, and on top she'd combed it back so tight it was about to go under the scalp. She began to move a little. When I bent over, she started to mumble.
What do you want?
The rent, if you're going to stay long. Here, put your head up.
Are you Mr. Novak?
It's too late to change.
Where's Agnes Bolton? Where'd she go, Mr. Novak?
I don't know where she went. Was she a good girl?
Something's happened to her.
Don't worry, it won't happen again. Who sent you here, Max Hunter?
Yeah. Please help me out.
All right, come on.
I'm Francine Kane. I came to find out about Agnes Bolton.
You're a deep sleeper. What happened?
You wouldn't know her.
I would if she's a tall blonde on the make for that green bag. Who is she?
Joan Haywood. You can find her at the Geary Theater.
She an actress?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Her stray talents, Mr. Novak, are dimensional rather than dramatic. If you're smart, you'll stay away from her.
Don't tell him any more, Fran. He's paid up.
Hello, Hunter. You oversold me.
You give me back the $200.
I'm going to give you lots for your money.
Don't include Agnes Bolton. I don't know anything about her.
Is that a lie?
Might be. There's a green bag.
Joan Hayward has it.
Is that a lie?
The little guy didn't think so. She left him dead in my car.
Let's go, Frank.
No, you're in a hurry, Mac.
You're not. I hope you like your office, Novak.
Huh?
Because this is where you're going to spend the night.
Don't let him feel bad, lady. It must have been his turn. When I left, he was crumpled up against the desk, and she was staring down at him as if she forgot to water the plants. When I rode by the Geary Theater, it was dark, so I looked up Joan Hayward's address. When I got out to her place, I knew I'd made a mistake. The landlady clutched her bathrobe like a bar of solid gold and told me Joan Hayward left the house 10 minutes ago. There was a cabbie at the corner, and he said he dropped her at the Gold Bar Club a few minutes before. I got down there about 1 o'clock, and Hellman was wandering around, stopping every few feet as if he expected to hear something. The bar was dark except for a light over on one side, and over near the jukebox, Joan Hayward was stretched out as dead as a deer on a fender. At first, Hellman didn't pay any attention when I walked in. I stood there for a while and looked at Joan Hayward. She still looked pretty, except in the dim light her skin looked coarse and reminded you of a piece of felt that was almost worn out. But the rest was all right, and Hellman came over for another look.
What did you forget, Novak?
My black tie. How'd it happen?
The bar was closed. Where were you?
Crawling out from under your thumb.
Yeah. We're going to keep that coroner. It was quick poison.
Yeah.
We found a needle in her coin purse. She didn't know about it and ran into trouble when she started to call up.
You better find this guy, Max Hunter.
That's going to be hard.
Yeah?
There is no Max Hunter.
Does she believe that?
Your Schicker friend came in with a card. We went over the fingerprints. They belong to Jackie Wren. He's wanted for espionage.
For more than that now, Hellman.
Maybe. Where have you been?
Look, Hellman, stop needling me. I won't go on the block for her.
Don't you like her?
I got an alibi you can't break. I've been all over town. Ask your tail. Ask your tail where I've been.
That won't get it.
Huh?
He reported in at 11:30. You got the wrong idea, Novak. You don't rate overtime.
When I left there, I knew everything was downhill. Hellman could stick me for everything but Dan McGrew. My only out was to find Jackie Wren, but you can't ring that many doorbells in one night. I went through the book, but there was no Jackie Wren or Max Hunter listed. I went home to get some sleep, and if they turned Gabriel loose tonight, it was all right with me. Jocko called up about 9 and said there was still no trace of Wren. Well, some mornings you can't trust yourself with a razor, so I got dressed and went down to a Greek's on Geary Street for breakfast. The murder was all over page 1, but there were so many pictures of Hellman you couldn't tell who was dead. I was about halfway through breakfast when I noticed a story down in the corner. A girl named Toni Pritchard had been found dead out in the marina. The story said everybody liked her. The police didn't have a lead, and they couldn't find a reason. It seemed kind of funny, but when I got to the last paragraph, I began to wonder. It said she was employed by the Musitone Company and worked the late shift as a switchboard operator. I wasn't sure, but you can't pass the dice when you only got $1 left, so I jumped down to see Frank Lupo. He said the Musitone Company owned the jukebox in the Gold Bar Club, but it worked like all the rest. People use a little microphone in front of the box. They call into a main switchboard for songs. I grabbed Jocko, and we got up to the Musitone Company. The guy in charge said, sure, they recorded some of the talk just to check on the girls, and sometimes the girls did it just for laughs. Well, we started through the recordings, and about half hour later, Jocko rolled a 7.
No, Patsy, they're all old ones. Try this.
Yeah. Well, put it down. I'll handle the needle.
There.
Crazy, Jackie. You know something's wrong.
Let me handle it, friend.
You don't get into trouble. I don't want you to get into trouble, Jackie.
Will you let me worry? You get back to the hotel. I'll meet you at the Kenwood right after.
It's too late. She's coming now. I think I'll finish your call, Jackie.
You made a mistake, Joan. It's one time you shouldn't have hurried.
That's enough, Jocko. Let's get up to Kenwood.
Why don't we think it over a while?
Put the record down and come on there at the Kenwood. You heard the shots?
That's what I'm worried about. If that fellow's any kind of a mechanic, he's had time to reload.
I got down to headquarters and told Hellman why that girl, Toni Pritchard, lost her vote. We rode out to the Kenwood, and Hellman started through the register. There was no Jackie Wren listed, and we didn't have any better luck with the girl. I briefed the desk clerk, and he said he thought there were 2 people in the hotel who looked like that, but he didn't know their names. Well, all we could do was wait for him to show. So Hellman and I walked down the street and slid into the car. Must have been about 3 o'clock, and for the next 4 hours we sat in there. About 7 o'clock it began to rain harder. It wasn't easy to see the front of the Kenwood. I got out to wipe the windshield, and that was a mistake because just then the door of the hotel swung open. The girl came out first, and then Jackie ran. He saw me right away, and the two of them jumped over to the curb and got into a car. Riding with Hellman's just about as safe as eating an arsenic sandwich. When we got to the corner, they turned east and started down Bush. It wasn't easy to stay behind them. The rain was hitting the windshield, and it was like trying to see through a mint julep. When we got past Jones, Hellman began to close in. It must have scared Wren too much because it stopped and he swung the car around with Hellman a few feet behind, and it was a dead end both ways.
You can't get out now. Open the door.
Yeah. There he is, over to the wall. Over here, Hellman. He'll go down that embankment on the other side.
Oh, he can't. It's too steep. Stay on this side. You see him?
No. But he's around, I think.
You got a chance now, Wren. Come on out.
I don't like you that well, mister.
Over there by the embankment. Can you see the girl?
She's with him.
Over to one side. Move up in front.
Oh, you're confused, Hellman. I pay the taxes.
It's gonna hurt from now on, Wren. I'm coming over.
I hope you make it, copper. All right, copper. Unless you want a medal, I'm through.
You don't need the gun, then. Get rid of it. Just toss it over there.
I can't even lift my arm.
Throw it down, mister.
Jackie, please.
I threw it right at you, copper. Francine, you crazy woman. You crazy. You let him kill me.
He's going over that embankment.
You let him kill me right in front of you.
No, Jackie. Please, Jackie, I tried to stop you. Jackie.
Driver Novak, she's going over.
Leave me alone. Jackie, I want you.
Forever.
I want you, Jackie. At least they can let me have this. Jackie!
A long way down.
Yeah. Too bad her name wasn't Jill. Last I saw Francine, she was lying down at the bottom in the rain. Her head was over to one side, and you knew with a little push it'd roll around as easy as a ball bearing on a plate. Her face was clean, but the rain was beginning to wash the dirt down, and when I left, she wasn't pretty anymore. Jackie Wren outlasted her by a few hours, and Hellman used them all. Agnes Bolton was carrying government papers bound for China. The four people were split into teams. Jackie Wren and Francine were trying to outbid Joan Hayward and the little guy. The way Jackie had it figured, he'd find out what ship they were going out on and pick it up from there. Joan Hayward knew he was dealing with me, so she followed me after I left that barber shop. She saw me park the car in that garage and tailed me down to the bowling alley. She planted the needle in Agnes Bolton's purse, and the little guy tagged along behind waiting for something to happen. Just to be on the safe side in case anything went wrong, Joan doubled by the office and gave Francine a headache. When the little guy got the green bag, he took it to Joan. It was too good to split, so she killed him and left him in my car. Well, then she made a mistake. When Jackie called her up and asked her to come down to the Gold Bar Club, she bought the story. Well, it would have worked out fine for Jackie if he hadn't talked in front of that microphone. But a nosy girl heard it and tried to put the screws on him. Well, Hellman asked only one question. About that conversation between Jackie and the girl. Why would a person say anything that private in front of a microphone? I don't know. But I told him about a couple of others Jocko and I heard. He didn't say anything, but I'll bet he gets a hold of those records and plays them every night before he goes to sleep.
and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Dragnet.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, July 6th. It was sunny in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner is Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Bernard. My name's Friday. We're on our way out from the office, and it was 8:23 a.m. when we got to the corner of Walton Avenue and Adams Boulevard. A used car lot office.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but you can't come in here.
We're police officers.
Oh, well, Frank Smith?
That's right. My partner, Sergeant Friday.
How do you do? My name's Binion, John Binion.
How are you?
I thought the door was locked. Didn't want anyone to come in until you fellas got here.
Are you the owner?
Yeah.
Did you put in the call?
That's right. When I found out I'd been robbed.
You want to tell us what happened?
I sure do. Only one trouble.
What's that, sir?
Not much I can tell you. Opened the door this morning, same as usual. Came in, hung up my hat, and sat down at the desk.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have noticed anything was wrong, but I promised my wife I'd type her jingle first thing when I got here.
What's that?
A jingle. Wife works all the contests and papers, magazines, you know.
Oh, yeah.
She writes them in longhand, then I have to type them. That takes up my time, but it makes her happy and keeps peace in the family.
Yeah, you want to go on?
I sat down at the desk. Opened the door on this side. See?
Yeah.
Reached in to pull the typewriter up into position. No typewriter.
It was gone, huh?
Yeah. Knew something was wrong. I'd used it yesterday just before I locked up the place.
I see.
I looked around to see if anything else was missing. The adding machine and my desk fountain pen are gone, too.
Now, how about the outside? Are there any cars missing?
Yeah. One. A 1953 Dodge. I was saving the real bad news to last.
All right, we'll need a description, the color, the model, the engine number.
Mm-hmm. Knew you'd want it. Got it all right here on this card. Here you go.
Okay. Better call this in, huh?
Yeah. Leighton print from the lab, too.
Right.
You can use either phone.
Thank you.
Can you give us the serial numbers on the typewriter and the adding machine?
Have to talk to Mabel first. She has them filed someplace.
That's your secretary?
Yeah. This is her day off.
Well, now, as far as you know, then, you've told us about everything that was taken.
Yeah?
Were these windows locked when you came in?
Yeah. Never open them. Don't have to. Place is air conditioned.
You say the front door was locked, huh?
Yeah. Extra key is gone from the board, though.
Fellas will be right out.
All right. What were you saying about those keys?
Want to step over here? I'll show you. Now, these are the keys for the cars on the lots. All labeled. Here's where the keys for the Dodge were.
Mm-hmm.
This hook had the extra key for the front door.
Binion, how many keys are there for the office?
3. I have one. Mabel has one. The other one was on the board.
How long has she worked for you?
Mabel?
That's right.
About 8 years. If you think she had anything to do with this, forget it. I'd as soon accuse my own wife.
We can understand it, Binion. We'll have to talk to her.
All right. I'll call Mabel and have her come down.
We'd appreciate that.
I know she didn't have anything to do with this. I'll give you odds on that. Anyway, I've read in the papers recently where there have been other burglaries like this.
Yeah.
My money says it's somebody with experience.
Maybe.
You must have some idea who's doing it.
Well, we're working on it.
In other words, you don't have much to go on.
Not a lot.
Doesn't sound too good for me. I mean, my chances of getting my property back.
We'll do what we can, sir.
I know, but if you don't have any leads, if they don't make any mistakes, isn't much you can do, is there? Seems to me the thieves always have the edge.
Yeah, it begins that way.
Hmm?
They always start before we do. Crews from the crime lab and Leighton Prince went over to the office. John Binion's secretary came in, but after questioning her, we decided she had nothing to do with the crime. She went through her desk and told us that a check made out to her employer was missing. Binion called his bank, and they promised to notify him if the check was cashed and returned to them. We got the serial numbers on the adding machine and the typewriter, and we notified pawn shop detail. Bulletins were also sent to second-hand stores. The latest burglary was similar to others that we've been investigating. The thief's M.O. was no different than we had on file, and to date, we have been unable to make any recoveries. We talked to informants, but they could give us no leads to the identity of the burglar. The report from the crime lab was the same as on all the other thefts. Entry had been made through the door. The lock had not been forced, indicating either the use of a key or some instrument to pick the lock. Leighton Prince failed to find any usable fingerprints. Tuesday, July 14th, 10:31 a.m. Yeah, I got it. Burglary Friday. Yeah. Mm-hmm. With your name?
You have it now? All right, we'll be right out. Right, bye. It's Binion. He called from his bank.
Yeah?
I think he turned a lead.
What do you mean?
Stolen check was cashed. When we got to John Binion's office, he showed us the check. We compared the endorsement with his signature, and it proved to be a good forgery. The check had been cashed by a Sylvia Carnes. Frank and I drove to the address. It was a small bookstore at the corner of Citrus Avenue and Hollywood Boulevard. Miss Carnes was shown the check, and we asked if she remembered who'd given it to her.
Let me think now. John Binion. Not too good on people's names. Let me check the sales slips for that day. I should have a record of what he bought. Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
I forget names, but when I look at the books they buy, most of the time I can remember the person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here they are.
You always write the name on cash sales?
Yes, it's a good way to build a mailing list. Mm-hmm. Here it is. John Binion on the 8th. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you remember anything about the man?
I might. May I have the slip, Mr. Friday?
Here you are.
From Blackboard to Back Bay. Oh, here. This is by a country school teacher. Gave up the little red schoolhouse to become a private tutor. Tells about some of his problems and how he dealt with them. It's quite amusing.
Yes, ma'am. But does it remind you of anything about the man?
No. Well, let's see what else he bought. Locks down through the ages. I never read that one. I guess it's about locks. Well, I'm beginning to remember.
Yes, ma'am.
He said locks were a hobby with him. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, it might, but can you tell us anything about the man's looks?
Well, I'll see. I guess he was about your size.
Me, ma'am?
No, he wasn't quite as... Well, he looked more like Mr. Friday.
Yeah. How about his coloring?
Had dark hair. Straight.
Did he have any marks on his face that we might use to identify him?
Not that I recall.
Could you tell us anything about how he was dressed?
I'm afraid not. Other book was The Window Without Curtains. Now, that reminds me of something.
What's that?
His voice.
Yeah.
Seemed almost too precise, too perfect.
Did you notice any accent?
No.
Was there anything else you can tell us about his looks?
No.
What kind of identification did he show you?
A driver's license.
And it was made out to John Binion?
That's right. I copied the names, the sales slip from it.
That's the only identification he showed you?
Yes, I didn't ask for any more. He seemed to know a lot of the business people in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mentioned them by name, said he lived near here before he got married.
I see.
No, I've been in business for 6 years. This is my first loss on a check.
That's right.
I've always been so careful. This man, though, he seems so honest, so polite. Sure rough on me. I have to suffer the loss. Check was for $30. He only bought $10 worth of books. I gave him $20 of my own money. It's a real loss, I can tell you.
Yes, ma'am. There's one thing in your favor.
What's that?
He's going to feel it more than you will. From what Sylvia Carnes told us, we knew that our suspect was also a forgery artist, or he had connections that could furnish him with suitable identification. Assuming the suspect might still live in the neighborhood, we spent the rest of the day questioning people in the area. We failed to come up with any leads. The next day, we started to canvass again. The manager of a small hotel told us that a man named Paul DeRoe was living there who could fit the partial description we had. In the manager's company, we went upstairs to look through the room.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
The picture on the wall, some kind of certificate, too. Looks like it's written in German. Want to take a look?
Well. That looks like Dutch to me.
You see there? Guy's wearing a 45. Looks like he's carrying an American carbine.
He's not wearing any kind of a uniform.
Well, what he's trying to prove. Certificate probably says what it's for, huh?
Yeah, maybe. Let's find out if this is DeRoe in this picture here. Mr. Bleeker, will you take a look at this and tell us if it's DeRoe?
Yeah, sure.
What do you say?
He's younger here, but I'd say it's him.
All right, thank you. Frank?
Just a minute, Joe.
Better see if Miss Carnes can make an identification from this picture.
Yeah, take a look at this. Just turned it. Found it up there on the shelf, wrapped in an oilskin tobacco pouch.
Yeah. Torsion bars, vibrator, ballpoint pick. It works. Looks like good steel, too, doesn't it?
Well, guess we got the right room.
Unless they all come with burglar kits. Frank and I continued to search the room. Besides the burglar kit, we found 3 books with the same titles as those bought with the stolen check. Sylvia Carnes identified the picture as being the same man that had passed the check. We called the office and asked them to run the name and description of Paul DeRoe through R&I. A local and an APB were gotten out on the suspect. Frank and I went back to the hotel and decided because of the physical setup of the lobby, it would be better to wait in the suspect's room. The manager took over the desk, and we arranged for him to notify us with one long ring on the phone when DeRoe asked for his key. 3 hours went by. 9:13 p.m. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, hold it right there.
Oh.
Get the light, Frank.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Police officers, what are you doing here?
You're police, eh?
That's right. Who are you?
Paul sent me up here.
Paul DeRoe?
That's right.
Where's he now?
Why do you want to know?
Come on, lady. Where is he?
Waiting for me.
Where?
Outside in the car.
Is he still waiting?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
When he left me off at the door, there wasn't any place to park.
All right, go ahead.
He was going to drive around the block and pick me up.
What kind of a car is he driving?
Well, I'm not sure.
You rode in it, didn't you?
Yes.
Well, don't you know what kind it is?
I didn't pay any attention.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, he drives so many different kinds.
We took the girl, Darlene Potter, with us, and we went down to the lobby. She was instructed to go out to the street and meet DeRoe. Frank and I followed her. There was no car waiting outside the hotel. On the chance that he might have parked and was waiting for the girl, Frank went up the street and then crossed to the other side. I walked down the street toward our car. DeRoe failed to show up. We went back to the hotel and asked the manager to call us if the suspect returned, and then we took the girl down to the city hall. During the trip, she maintained she didn't know what make car he was driving. She said he told her that he was an automobile salesman, that he also worked as a private teacher. We ran her name through R&I, but we found no record. The run on the name Paul DeRoe had failed to turn a package. Leighton French was requested to go over to DeRoe's room, 10:02 p.m. We continued to interrogate Darlene Potter.
How long have you known DeRoe?
I told you before. 3 months.
Who did he say he worked for?
He never said.
Where did he teach?
Private homes.
Can you give us their names?
No, I can't tell you.
You don't know?
That's right. He just said he taught. Never said where.
What did he teach?
Language.
What language?
French, I think. You haven't told me what this is all about, but I'm sure there's a mistake. Paul wouldn't have to do anything wrong.
Why do you say that?
He's too intelligent.
Well, it doesn't look that way right now, does it?
Paul's a hero.
What else do you know about him?
What?
His background. Where's he from?
I'm not sure. I think he said something once about going to school in Paris.
Is he an American citizen?
I just assumed he was. He never said anything different.
Uh-huh.
Can't you tell me what he's done?
We'd like to talk to him about some burglaries and some car thefts.
Paul wouldn't steal.
Well, maybe so, ma'am. We've got good reason to think he did.
Well, there's some mistake. It doesn't fit with the kind of person he is.
How do you mean that?
It might not make much sense to you.
Well, give us a try.
Paul was in the war.
And so?
Yes, maybe you saw the picture and citation in his room.
Yeah, we did. What about it?
He fought with the Dutch underground forces.
He told you that, did he?
Yes. He only talked about it once or twice. I think he was in that group. I don't remember the name, but they went in and organized the resistance forces before the invasion.
Uh-huh.
You're pretty sure Paul is the man you want?
Looks that way, yes, ma'am.
It's hard to believe. But there's a reason for it. I guess he took a lot of chances during the war. Must have changed him.
He hasn't changed. Further interrogation of Darlene Potter convinced us that she knew the suspect only as a friend. When we drove her home, she gave us a more recent snapshot of DeRoe. The next day, copies were made and distributed to radio patrol units. Frank and I went back to the hotel to make another check of the room to try and find something that might lead us to any of his friends or associates. We found a list of names and addresses under a desk blotter. The first 4 people that we talked to all told us the same thing. They said that the man known as Paul DeRoe was a private tutor for their children. The only address that any of them had for him was the hotel. At 2 of the homes, we were told he came to teach on Wednesdays. One party said he came on Saturdays, and the other one said he came on Tuesdays. 4:03 p.m. We identified ourselves and were admitted to a home on Chatham Drive by a Mrs. Grace Findlay.
Won't you gentlemen be seated?
Thank you very much.
Oh. What was it you wanted to see me about?
Well, Miss Findlay, we'd like you to look at this picture and tell us if you recognize this man. There you are.
Why, yes, that's Paul DeRoe.
Wonder if you'd mind telling us what you know about him.
Well, I'm not sure I understand just what you mean.
Well, is he a friend of the family?
Yes, in a way. He's the children's French teacher.
Uh-huh.
He's not in trouble with the police, is he?
We'd like to talk to him.
I hope it isn't serious.
Well, it might be, Miss Finley.
serious enough to have him put in jail?
Might be.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He's been so wonderful with the children.
Mm-hmm.
He's the third teacher we've had. Somehow they never liked the others, but they're just crazy about Paul. You're certain he's done something wrong?
We'd like to find him and get his side of the story. Now, do you have a home address for him?
Yes. Does he know you're looking for him?
We wouldn't know that, ma'am.
It's strange.
How's that?
Well, I was thinking if you're looking for him and he knows it, it's odd he called here today.
You talked to him today?
Yeah. Thursday to give the children their instructions.
Yes, ma'am.
He said he'd be here at 5 o'clock.
With Mrs. Findley's permission, Frank drove our car into the garage, and then we waited for Duro to arrive. While we were waiting, Mrs. Findley told us that when Duro had applied for the job, he'd showed her several letters of recommendation from families in the East. Because of his intelligence and her children's instant liking for him, she hadn't made a check on his background. She went on to say that she had noticed him driving several different makes of cars, but she couldn't give us a description of any of them. 5:06 p.m. The front doorbell rang.
That must be him. I hope there's no trouble.
All right, you wait here, Miss Findley.
All right.
Don't worry about it. I'd hold it right there, Duro, police officers.
This is hardly the reception expected.
All right, move over. Put both hands up against the door. Come on, move.
We use the same method.
Frank?
Yeah, he's cleaned up.
I could have told you, gentlemen, that I'm not in the habit of coming to a client's home carrying a gun.
All right, turn around. Get your hands behind your back.
Couldn't we dispense with the handcuffs? This is rather embarrassing.
Well, you'll get used to it.
I was thinking about the children. I don't want them to see me like this.
You should have thought about that sooner. Better get the car, huh?
Right. I imagine this is about the check I cashed?
A few other things.
I worked with the Americans during the war.
Good so?
I learned a good many things about them. Very resourceful, brilliant, and eager to help the less fortunate.
You forgot one thing, didn't
What's
you?
that?
They don't like to be robbed. We contacted the office and had them send another team out to pick up the car Duro had driven and take it down to the police garage. On the way down to the city hall, the suspect told us he'd been in this country about 6 months. He refused to talk about anything except what a great country he thought America was. Frank went to check with DMV on the suspect's car, and I took Duro to the interrogation room.
It's wonderful. It's the only place in the world to live.
Yeah, well, all right, Duro. We got the idea you're sold on this country. Now let's get on to cases and talk about the reason we're here. How about it?
It might as well be now as later.
All right, fine. You want to start by telling us what you did with this stuff?
I spent the money. The books are in my room.
What about the other things you stole?
Oh, there must be some mistake. I didn't steal anything.
Well, you cashed a forged check, didn't you?
Yes, I admit that.
And the check was stolen?
It's possible, but I didn't take it.
You expect us to buy that, Duro?
It's entirely up to you.
Where'd you get it?
If I said I found it, could you prove otherwise?
It won't be necessary. We can nail you on a forgery rap right now.
That's what I had in mind. I have no desire to be connected with anything else.
Well, you seem pretty anxious to pick up that tab.
Well, it's only right. I took a chance and lost. I'm willing to settle for my mistake.
Yeah, well, that's real big of you, but I got a hunch we'll be able to tag you with more than a 470.
Sure, let me see.
Yeah. What do you got?
Well, I'm not sure now we got the right guy in the car theft.
What?
I checked with DMV. The car Duro is driving is registered to a Seward car company. I called him.
Yeah.
They tell me he works for him.
We continued to question Duro, but he refused to admit any knowledge of the burglaries and the car thefts. He was booked on suspicion of 470 PC and taken to the main jail. The next morning, the owner of the bookstore identified the suspect in a show-up. We questioned him again, but he failed to admit anything but the check forgery. 9:23 a.m. Frank and I returned to the office.
You gotta hand it to the guy. He's cool.
Yeah, but he's too ready to buy in on that 470.
Yeah, I'll check the book.
All right.
Here's a number for you to call, Joe.
Is there any name on it?
Yeah, a fellow named Eiler.
Give any reason for the call?
Nope.
Hello, I'd like to speak to Mr. Eiler, please. This is Sergeant Friday, Police Department. That's right. I see. All right, sir, we'll be right out. You want to give me that address? 347. Right, thank you. Fellow runs a garage, saw the spread on our suspect in the morning paper.
Yeah?
He says from the description they gave, Duro was in his garage.
Uh-huh.
Brought a car in to be painted. Frank Frank and I drove out to the garage, and when we showed DeRoe's picture to Frank Eilers, he identified him as the man who'd brought in a Nash sedan to be repainted. We checked the engine number and found it listed as stolen. We went back to the office.
Here's that FBI kickback.
Did you read it?
No, I just picked it up.
Yeah, listen to this. Paul J. DeRoe, alias Paul Dawson, alias Peter Duncan. True name, Philip Paul Dorrance.
Got much of a record?
You'd have to take a day off to read it all. Served terms for burglary in GTA. He's been at all the best hotels. Joliet, Sing Sing, Atlanta. Born and raised in this country.
What about that war record?
Joliet, 1938 to 1946.
How do you like that? Well, he sure went to a lot of trouble. Having his picture taken and that get-up and that phony certificate. The way that picture looked. All those trees and the countryside. Sure looked like Holland to me, didn't it to you, Joe?
Well, that's our big trouble.
What do you mean?
We never been to Holland. We went back to the main jail and had the suspect brought to the interview room. He still denied any connection with the burglaries and the car thefts. 12:16 p.m.
With my war record, I don't have to be subjected to
Now,
this.
look, we got you made on the check, and it won't be hard to prove you stole that car. Your story falls apart like a $4 suit.
I have great admiration for the Americans.
Yeah, you've been telling us that.
I managed to escape situations more difficult than this during the war. I was trained for it.
Yeah, you told us.
Of course, there was some difference then. We were all on the same side and fighting for the same things.
You know you're doing a lot of talking, but you're not saying anything.
I'll tell you what you want to know.
You do that.
Yes,
Well, all right, go ahead.
I will. But first, I'd like to tell you about the shoes.
About what?
Shoes.
What about it?
I fought with the Dutch underground. Now, for a man to fight, two things are important.
Is that so?
A gun and a good pair of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us who wanted to fight had neither. One of your OSS men contacted us and said we would get them. And one night a plane came over and dropped containers by parachute.
Yeah.
The man kept his promise. We got guns, the fine carbines, and we got shoes. When daylight came, I looked at mine very closely. They had stamped on them, made in America.
Yeah.
And that's when I made up my mind.
You did?
Yes, I decided that someday I would come to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I knew if I wasn't killed, I'd come here.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story, isn't it?
Yes, and I regret that I'll lose my chance to become a citizen. They may even deport me for this.
No farther than the nearest jail.
Now, please don't make light of my predicament. I admit I made this one
Oh,
mistake.
come on, look, settle down, will you? I can buy a better story than yours in any magazine.
All right. I didn't want to do this, but I insist that you call the Dutch consul.
They never heard of you.
Well, there must be a mix-up of some sort. Somebody must know me.
Yeah, sure, every prison warden in the United States. You've got a record that'll reach from here to Holland, but that's the closest you ever been. Your real name's Philip Dorrance. The only war you ever fought was in the prison library over the daily papers. You've been in and out of every joint in the country. Now, there's more. Do you want the rest of it?
No, I guess that's enough, isn't it? I might as well admit it. I'm a burglar and a car thief.
You left one out.
What?
You're a liar.
Paul Michael DeRoe was tried and convicted of burglary in the second degree, 3 counts. Grand theft auto, 3 counts. And forgery, 1 count. He received sentence as prescribed by law. Burglary in the second degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not less than 1 or more than 15 years. Grand theft auto is punishable by imprisonment for not more than 10 years. Forgery is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not less than 1 or more than 14 years.
Dragnet. The story of your police force in action is a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.
Jeff Regan. I get 10 a day in expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
With Jack Webb as Jeff Regan, Investigator, stand by for hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of The Lady with No Name.
The next time you're out for a drive, pick up Olive Street along about the 700 block. You can't miss it. It's a big building made out of white granite. The Cosmopolitan Building. The man who built it is doing a long run up at San Quentin for graft. Anthony J. Lyon, the guy I work for, rents an office in that building. International Detective Bureau, Suite 308. A couple of rooms with a connecting wastebasket. The Lion has the only desk in the office and a typewriter that Remington dropped from their catalog back in 1915. Well, I walked in last Tuesday at 10 a.m. The office was full of taboo. She was a tall girl, very pretty, wearing slacks and a coat that must have set the mink population back 20 years. But she still looked cold, like she'd never get warm again. The Lion had one arm around her shoulders. He knew by this time that coat was the real article. There wasn't any music, but he didn't seem to mind.
Come in.
Not much room to dance.
We got trouble.
She's your date.
This is one of my operators, Mr. Regan.
How do you do, Mr. Regan?
Now, tell him exactly what you just told me.
Yes, all right. May I sit down? I feel strange.
Of course. Oh, there.
Thank you.
Get this, Regan.
I don't know where I live. I don't know my name.
Yeah?
I want you to find out who I am.
You heard that, Regan?
Heard what?
The verbal contract. You just hired him.
Oh, you're out of your mind.
And you're a witness in case anything comes up.
Please, I don't feel well. I'm perfectly willing to pay you. You'll just find out who I am.
Well, look, lady, there's a cop on every corner.
I couldn't go to the place.
You got here.
Quit pushing her. This is our case.
I was afraid. I found this in my purse.
32 caliber Smith & Wesson. Been fired. There's 3 gone.
What are you doing with that, miss?
I don't know.
Just been used by you.
I don't know.
Well, where'd you get it?
I just found it in my purse.
Remind you of anything?
No.
You take it.
Now, look, miss, I know you don't feel well, but there are certain questions you'll have to answer.
I just want you to find out who I am. It's terrible this way. It's...
Ain't it?
Yeah, you always had a way with women.
Help me bring her around so she can sign that contract.
She hasn't got a name, remember?
We'll give her a name. Jane Doe's good enough.
I guess so.
What do you mean?
She's dead. The Lion just stood there. He looked sad, like a water buffalo caught in a drought. Well, when she rolled onto the floor, her purse went with her. It cracked open, and the stuff inside spilled out on the rug. There wasn't anything to tell us who she was. No comb, no makeup. Nothing but a house key and a receipt for a cab ride dated that day. There wasn't even a label in that mink coat. Nothing to go on. I might as well have tried to walk to Catalina. I told the Lion to phone the coroner's office, and I hopped over to the cab company. They told me that the receipt came from meter 212, driven by a man named Servey. He worked the call box at Hollywood and Western. He was a little guy. I figured he got the job because they ran out of big uniforms. They double-crossed him on that cap. If it wasn't for his ears, he'd have been wearing a snood.
Sorry, Bud. I got a fare.
Where is he? Under the floorboards?
I got a fare.
Yeah, you said that. Where?
In there eating.
Your flag's up.
I'll pull it down. Happy?
You Johnny Servey?
Whose nose are you?
They told me I'd find Servey in this hack.
Who told you that?
Cab company.
They don't know any more than you do.
Now, look, never mind the jokes. Just give me the straight lines.
Nix, we got out this company uniform.
Well, we're going to get it back if you don't open up.
Get it out.
All right.
Louise pulled out 3 weeks ago. She took all the furniture with her. You can collect from her.
I'm not the finance company.
No?
Here.
Oh, private paper, huh? Well, who's getting conned?
Did you carry a brunette in a mink coat sometime this morning?
Maybe.
Where'd you drop her?
Downtown, 6th and Grand.
Where'd she live?
Ask her. I'm cruising in from the fair.
Where'd you pick her up?
In Burbank, Hollywood Way, and Kensington.
The fair's in Pomona. You took the long way.
I like to drive. It's company gas.
Yeah.
She was nice, real nice. You know what I mean? Real class.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, will you?
Yeah?
We didn't go anywhere, but time's up. That's 5 even.
Fast meter.
Hey, you want me to tell you about the guy?
What guy?
Tall, dark-haired, brown sport coat, movie type.
Go on.
He was chasing her when she caught my cab. He looked like a match.
Was it?
Ask him.
Is that all?
She got in. We drove away.
Right here.
Thanks. No tip?
Like you said, we didn't go anywhere. Ever have somebody drop a key in your lap and say, go find a door? Well, I drove out to Burbank and I began looking around for a good lock near Hollywood Way in Kensington. I figured that key I'd found in Jane Doe's purse would have to fix something. I made my letter on the 10th house. There was a for sale sign on it. I didn't see anybody around, so I unlocked the door and I went in. Outside of something that smelled like tar and kerosene, the place was empty. I was just about to turn around and leave when a brown sport coat slid into the room, movie type. When he walked over to me, I knew he drank the right kind of scotch.
Gonna use your GI loan?
I was just looking.
Gotta buy it. It's a steal.
No, the lady won't like it.
Your wife?
Girl in a mink coat.
You make that kind of dough?
She got it from somebody else.
You Hollywood guys. Where'd you get the key?
I borrowed it. She won't need it.
What's your name?
I didn't have a chance to ask her.
Oh, you're kind of slow, aren't you?
Sometimes.
We'll see how fast you can hit the door.
No, I just got here.
Yeah, now you're leaving.
Cab driver says he knows you.
I'm friendly. I talk to everybody.
Said you were doing a chase scene.
Could be. She was pretty.
They all look good in mink.
It's not the house. What do you want?
Well, we could start with a name.
It's Dameron.
Not enough.
That's all you get, wise punk. Now beat it.
You'll give more at homicide.
I don't see any bad.
Now, look, we can play games some other time. A cab driver put the finger on you as the last man to see that girl in mink.
You talk like she's dead.
You called it.
Too bad. There's a lot of fur coats in L.A. and a lot of guys chasing them. You got nothing.
That's what they always say downtown, but you'll talk.
I don't figure on leaving, but you're going on your way right now.
Better open a window, Dameron. You're sweating.
Keep talking, sunshine, and we'll make one in that far wall.
You got help in the back room?
Quit scratching around. It doesn't mean anything to you.
It didn't before she pulled a fade in my office, but it does now.
I'll buy you new carpet. I don't know who let you out, but it's bedtime. You've been talking about a dead girl who doesn't even know her name. Now go back and finish your dream.
You got all the questions. Now let's fill in the answers.
I'm fresh out of box tops. There's the door user.
No, not yet. I'm going to get what I came for.
Little man, that's a promise.
You're out of condition, Dameron.
You're in a great position to throw that line.
Oh, you got talent, mister, but it's still raw. Come here. Now, come on, get up. I'm not through.
That's where you're wrong.
It's a big Luger.
Makes the same size hole. All right, punk, you got a name?
A lot of them for you.
School isn't out yet. Just answer.
It's Regan.
Okay, Regan, let this sink in. Forget you ever saw any dame in a mink coat. Forget you ever saw me.
That won't be hard.
Look, Junior, you just lost the round. Now remember what I told you. Have a memory lapse. Is that clear?
You made your point.
Now blow.
You always use a Luger?
For close work.
Well, then that 32 doesn't fit.
What 32?
The one that the girl was carrying.
You got it?
No, I gave it a homicide.
Good. It saves me a trip downtown.
You're not worried?
No, I'm very happy.
Huh?
Today's my birthday. That's the reason you're walking out of here.
The whole thing looked as phony as an undertaker in a white derby. Well, I went back to the office, and the lion was sitting there with a bottle of beer and a sandwich that looked like a couple of end tables. He stopped chewing when I came in.
What's her name?
It's still Jane Doe.
You've been gone 4 hours. Movie?
They don't open till noon.
All right, where you been?
A vacant house in Burbank. I trailed it up from that cab receipt.
What'd you find?
Guy named Dameron.
What'd he say?
Nothing.
Shy?
Tough.
That where you got the egg on your chin?
He was nervous.
When you gonna learn to be nice to people?
He had a gun, too.
Tell me more.
That's all.
I like this. It's got possibility.
All right, take off your saddle. The race is over.
When the coroner's boys showed up, they told me why she dropped.
That's easy. She died.
Poison.
Was that an autopsy?
Something about her color. It isn't official, but we can work on it.
Suicide?
Murder.
Why murder?
They feed themselves iodine and sleeping pills, but they don't take Aliceine.
What's that?
A hot drug with a petrol base. It burns.
Homicide will handle it.
Sure, homicide will handle it. Only we got things to do. We got a stake in this.
You made it a client.
We're going to give her service, dead or alive.
What does Wendetti say?
I don't pay Wendetti. We find out who she is.
All right, you try.
Her picture shows up in the paper. She dropped dead in our office. How's it make us look?
They sent in the first string when she died.
You'll clear this up before homicide does.
They'll lift your license.
We won't need it.
What do you mean?
I still got Exhibit A.
What?
Smith & Wesson, 32 caliber.
You're withholding evidence?
I forgot to give it to them.
All right, now give them a call and tell them.
That was 5 hours ago. You'll make the call.
All right, I'll tell homicide. They'll give me a break.
That's what Dillinger thought.
Give me the gun.
They've got Jane Doe's prints on the wire. They'll have the answer in 10 hours. Cut that in half, Regan, and we've won the championship.
You'll have to give the cup back. You cheated. When I left the Lion, he looked happy, like a guy who just figured the mystery melody. I had the gun with 3 bullets gone that Jane Doe had been carrying in her purse, the Lion in back of me, the police department in front. That left me about as much chance as a blue peanut on a wedding cake. I knew that if I walked into homicide with that .32, they'd hold on to me like a season pass. I had to find out who it was registered to, so I gambled and I went down to the city hall. I went in the Temple Street entrance, room 11, personnel division. If I pegged it right, I could get the dope on that gun without getting involved. I figured wrong.
Can I help you?
You in charge here?
Lunchtime, yeah.
All right, whose name matches these numbers?
Small arms?
Yeah?
What authority?
I just bought it.
Want to know if it's clean?
Yeah.
Caliber and make?
It's a .32, Smith & Wesson.
Okay. Smith & Wesson, 32. Yeah, right here. Got the weapon with you?
No, why?
No rule. No gun, no vitals.
I got it. Here.
Okay. Purchased August 1929, factory reblue job 1931, owned by American Trust and Loan, permitted to Dale W. Curtis.
Thanks.
I'll have to ask you to wait.
Why?
No rule. Got to run them all through ballistics.
Anything special?
Maybe. Found the guy floating around Silver Lake this morning, full of 32s.
Who?
Working on it. Have to ask you to wait.
No, I can't. I haven't had lunch yet.
Stick around. We may invite you.
I don't like your food.
Oh, don't worry. You can have anything you want the last day.
You're listening to the story of the lady with no name. Tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator. If you are a graduate registered nurse, please listen carefully to this important message. 29,000 nurses are needed to join the new Army Nurse Corps Officers Reserve. If you're a registered graduate nurse between the ages of 21 and 45, drop a card for complete information to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. And now, back to the story of the lady with no name and Jeff Regan, Investigator.
Well, there it was. The clerk took Jane Doe's gun and closed the door marked ballistic. I figured he couldn't be too sure about whether that .32 would match up, but I didn't want to wait around to find out. He left the vitals card on the counter. I spun it around and I got the address of Dale W. Curtis. It turned out to be a one-story frame that stood in the way of the new freeway they're building. The movers were just jacking it up and I caught the last carload of people leaving. They told me that Curtis hadn't lived there for 7 years. They did give a number over on Manzanita off Fountain, where I might be able to find him. There was an apartment on the second floor. From the looks of the place, it figured that the OPA had a fight on their hands. I rang the bell and waited. I don't know whether it was a lighting effect in that dim hallway, but when she opened that door, I expected to see those 1,000 ships slide down the ways again. She was wearing some kind of a filmy thing that made a spider's web look like burlap. She had a voice that stole over you like a pint of Irish ale.
I didn't expect to until tonight.
I broke my watch.
Come on in. I'll see if I can fix it. I'm grateful for the swift movement.
Yeah, it shows.
My name's Marlowe Curtis.
I want to see your husband.
He's not here.
Do you expect him?
No.
Where is he?
Up north.
Business trip?
Yeah. He sold out.
Oh, what kind of business?
Ask the warden.
Huh?
The Curtis is in the prison cemetery. Been there 5 years.
Sorry.
Don't be. He deserves it.
You're going to drown in those tears.
I'm still wearing black.
The right color, wrong occasion.
Soda?
What?
Just drink. How do you want?
Well, you're mixing.
Hey. Now, isn't that better?
I don't know. This is my first drink.
You'll get another. The weather's changed.
There's nothing here.
You're quick. Must have a good straight man.
Yeah, you.
You get top billing. What's your name?
Regan?
Detective?
Maybe.
Arrest. Sergeant?
I'm due for a promotion.
You'd make a better lieutenant. Come here. If I had anything to do with you, be captain.
Yeah, sure, until you snag your colonel.
You're nasty, too.
Did I pay for my drink?
Get out.
Tell me about this nail file.
You got that out of my purse.
I had one hand free.
You two-bit shadow artist. Now get out. Hello? Yes, he's here.
Yeah?
This you, Regan? You don't know me.
I've been lucky so far.
They should never have taken that gun down to the city hall.
You get around.
You shouldn't be up there in Marlowe's apartment.
You gonna run my life?
Now, I told you what you shouldn't do. Here's what you're gonna do.
Look, Buster, don't crowd me.
You're gonna forget all about today.
The girl forgot a lot of things today, and she dropped dead.
Got the idea?
Suppose I don't buy it.
You want a partner for that gun.
Dameron give you the nickel?
He gave me a dime. I got one more call to make to the city hall.
All right. Suppose I lay off.
And I got something for my piggy bank.
You're no petty girl. Hang it up and get out.
Okay.
You know, Regan, I could have really liked you.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm scared. Well, you can see how things were. I felt like a short girl with a new look. No matter how I tried to break it down, I figured to cop the leading role. A Jane Doe walks in her office and drops dead. She has a gun that probably talked to a couple of people. A cab ride receipt takes me to Bill Dameron, a guy with a talkative gun. I end up in Marlowe Curtis' apartment for a lot of punctuation marks. Everybody talks but the people. Well, I knew I'd have to begin to move before homicide tagged me, so I hopped down to the Times and I checked the morgue file. I pulled the clips on Dale W. Curtis. Marlowe didn't lie. He was dead. The old papers didn't mean anything, but the banner headline on the night final put one piece of the jigsaw in position. It told about a Treasury Department agent named Shields. They found him in Silver Lake. He'd been shot 3 times with a .32. Now I knew where Marlowe's nail file fit. I started to leave when I caught the last paragraph. It said, "Unidentified man turns in the murder weapon. Police are seeking his whereabouts." Yeah.
This is Lane. I've been calling your place for 2 hours.
I just got home.
Gonna give yourself up?
It was your idea.
Who's Jane Doe?
I don't know.
Why?
You got a badge, you try.
Look, Regan, you're hot. Every prowl car in town's looking for you.
Yeah.
You better start filling this in or they're gonna get you.
Now listen, big shot, you're in this too.
Not from where I sit. I gave you the gun.
Well, send me some dough over here.
I don't have enough for your bail.
I need some money for cab fare.
No petty cash in the office.
Don't lie to me. What about that money you got out of Jane Doe's purse?
What do you mean?
She could have never got up there without cab money.
Well, she must have lost it in the elevator.
Look, I haven't got time to play games. Now send it over.
How much do you need?
$10 won't break you.
Where you going to? Yuma?
I'll expect it in an hour. Goodbye.
Hello?
Hello, Dameron.
Always like your door.
I wouldn't stop you. You'd crawl under.
Come on in, fellas. It's drafty out there in the hall.
You got a parade permit?
Rodney, say hello to Regan.
I already did on the phone.
What about Slim?
Hiya, Grogan.
His name's Regan, isn't it, Big Mouth? Oh! Sitting right next to Rodney when he made that call to you, it was perfectly clear to me. Wasn't it clear to you, Big Mouth? Oh! Rodney told you to lay out, but you just had to get onto that newspaper, didn't you, Big Mouth? Rodney, Slim on the bed.
All right, let go.
Now, Regan, once more, they got a gun downtown. They got a dame and her prints are going to fit it. They got a stiff and that gun's going to fit him, okay? And I'll lay you off.
You said that before.
Rodney, Slim, hold his hands. Now, Regan, I know you understand me. I said all the right words. Maybe my punctuation's bad. Lay off. Period. Lay off. Period. All right, leave him in the bed.
He's on the floor.
That's fine. Now he won't have to change his bedding.
Dameron was good. When I got up, my face looked like a relief map of Death Valley. He was wearing a signet ring. He left out all the water holes, but the mountain ranges were rising fast. I figured I was safe now. That guy in the personnel office had never recognized me. Well, I was standing in the kitchen giving myself the cold water treatment when somebody knocked. I figured that was a switch, so I opened the door. It was that hacky, Johnny Servey. He had an envelope in his hand. Yeah?
Hi. Remember me?
You give up cab work?
Oh, I found this under your door. Here.
Thanks.
Football?
What do you want?
Well, you asked me about a dame in a mink coat today. Now, I'm asking you.
I don't run a meter.
Well, I figure all this might help.
All of what?
Well, I get to thinking about it, see, and then I think some more.
All right, come on, get to the point, will you?
You played a hand, now I'm playing a hand.
Go on.
Well, dames mean trouble, and mink coats, they mean double trouble.
Yeah?
Is it worth $5 if I remember another guy?
Maybe.
Well, he's all over the papers now. I seen him.
Who?
Shields, the guy they fished out of Silver Lake.
Where?
He was out in Burbank this morning, early.
I thought you were at Pomona.
I was, but... Well, I guess I wasn't exactly cruising. I got a friend lives out that way. Know what I mean?
When was this?
An hour before I picked her up. This guy they find in Silver Lake is walking around that house. I'm looking for a store for breakfast.
All right, you eat.
Well, that's it. After breakfast, I hop in my cab, and that's when I pick up the dame at Mink.
Why'd you bring me all this?
Well, I figure we got somewhere this time. How do I get my tip?
I gave him his $5 and he left. Then I opened the envelope he'd handed me. It was the money that I'd asked the Lion to send over. 2 $5 bills. Well, I looked at it, put it back in the envelope, stuck it in my pocket. So far, all I could see that I got out of this thing was a good beating from Dameron. The question still stood, who was Jane Doe? Well, I knew my next move. I wanted to hop over to the Treasury Department and see if my 2 matched their 2, and maybe between us we could come up with 4. I didn't have much to go on. It was just a hunch. I took Marlowe's nail file with me, and I walked in the front door of the Federal Building. I showed my license to the chief agent.
That's right, one of our agents, Shields. They have the murder weapon down at Homicide.
I know.
All we want is the man that pulled the trigger.
Well, I got an idea.
I'll listen.
What's wrong with these $5 bills?
You can't spend them.
I figured that.
Where'd you get them?
How bad are they?
Lousy paper, rotten ink, terrible engraving job. You could do better with a rubber stamp outfit. Where'd you get them?
Any of these been floated?
We picked up a few.
Was Shields working on it?
That's as much as I can give you. Now, where'd you get them?
Well, a girl faded out in our office this morning.
She was carrying them?
Yeah.
What's her name?
That's what I got to find out.
Jane Doe, huh?
Well, that's what we called her.
So does the paper. Same girl?
Yeah, that's her. Any identification?
Not yet. They've been running a picture for hours.
Well, I'm short on time.
You're the guy.
Wait a minute before you hit that button.
Yeah?
Your addition's good, but you haven't got all the figures.
Don't make book on that. You're the number 1 boy with me.
You think I'd solo in here?
You might.
No, I got an ace.
All right, so you keep your nails clean.
Oh, look at it.
It's a nail file.
They cut dum-dums out of Shields.
Who told you?
A second-story apartment with a deep floor.
How did you know?
You're holding the file that cut the grooves.
You use it?
I can give you the guy who did.
Dum-dum makes a big hole.
Half shield.
Prove a tip from a 32 slug. It'll spread from here to Kansas when it hits.
You can do it with a nail file.
Maybe. Where's that apartment?
No, I'm too close to quit now.
I can't let you go alone.
I got a big car.
Now, before we go, mister, if no one belongs to that file, you belong to the gun.
Well,
that case, I'll have a lot of time to do my nails. Well, it was a long shot, but that's all I had. The agent just sat there on the way over. He didn't say a word. Well, I figured he didn't believe me, but it was a short drive to find out. We hit Manzanita Street just after the dinner time rush. It was quiet, and everybody was eating or they'd gone out for the evening. We climbed the stairs to Marlowe Curtis' apartment. I told the agent I wanted to go in alone. He didn't like the idea, but I explained to him that I expected friends and somebody should cover me from the outside. Oh, she looked even prettier than I remembered her. One tear was just about ready to take that last plunge across her cheek.
What do you want?
I brought you a paper.
I've seen it.
You know the girl?
Yes.
What's her name?
Too late.
For you, maybe. I gotta know.
You wouldn't understand.
Try me.
You're still looking for things.
No, not this trip.
You didn't think I could cry, did you?
No.
I learned.
Weeping over a nail file?
I said you wouldn't understand.
It split a slug in a treasury agent.
I don't know.
Well, I do, sis. You filed the groove.
Shows you how many times you can be wrong in one day, Regan.
Kind of cramped behind that screen, Dameron?
Small apartment.
Yeah.
Always wanted to get the girls a bigger one, but Marlowe's getting tried.
You're wrong, Dameron. Not anymore.
You've been around Regan too long, Marlowe. Now you got a mouth just like his. Big.
I just figured out what he's been trying to do.
You putting brains on the market, too?
The Jane Doe he's been looking for was Evelyn.
Your sister could have been a rich woman.
Not with the kind of money you printed.
You playing this scene for?
I didn't count on murder.
Evelyn forgot things.
You killed her.
It was no good. She couldn't tell the 5 from the 10.
I'm going to identify her.
You know where that leaves me?
Sure I do. And I'm going now.
You'll have to walk through this Luger.
Is that the same gun he used on the Treasury agent?
You and Regan hardly got acquainted, didn't he tell you? Your sister did that for me.
You're lying.
That's Regan.
The nail file.
That's right. Dum-dums. Evelyn wanted to be sure.
Rotten. Now get out of my way.
Marlowe, don't try it.
I'm going out that door.
Not standing up.
It was a real photo finish. Just as Dameron pulled the trigger, the agent kicked the door open and threw a couple of fast ones into him. I'd call it a dead heat, but you'd have to give the agent the edge. His first slug cut Dameron down like a blade of grass. I figured the second was for shield. Marlowe wasn't in a hurry anymore.
Regan.
I'll call the doctor.
Don't bother. I thought too big now.
You're hurt, baby.
No. I got bigger. I almost made it.
Was a good try.
How's Dameron?
He's all used up.
Good. Regan. You think I'm as bad as him?
No, baby. You just played on the wrong team. He was... Let's go. Yeah. From here on, it's a monologue. Well, it was hard to figure. It was like trying to throw a saddle on a porpoise. I gave what I had to homicide, and it unbuttoned something like this. The girl who pulled a quick exit in the office, Jane Doe, was Marlowe's sister, Evelyn. She was front man for Dameron's bad money. She helped him pass it. The Treasury agent, Shields, got a little too close, so Evelyn pumped a couple of dum-dums into him. She did it for Dameron, and then he slipped her the poison. He figured this stuff would work best. But she lived long enough to take that taxi ride to the office. Well, it didn't begin to make sense until I got down to personnel. I didn't think to check it before, but when I handed the clerk that gun, I noticed the tip of the slugs were grooved. Then over at Marlowe's, I picked up that nail file. It was full of lead filings. From there on, it was a fast reel. Dameron filled in the rest in the fight with Marlowe. Yeah, well, too bad about Marlowe. We might have had something. That's what I don't like about this business. You can't build friendships.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan, with Herb Butterfield as Anthony J. Lyon. It's CBS at the same time next week for more hard-boiled action and mystery with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Written by E. Jack Newman, produced by Sterling Tracy. The role of Bill Dameron was played by Charles McGraw. Yvonne Patey was Marlowe Curtis. Marvin Miller was the Treasury agent. David Ellis, Stacey Harris, Lou Krugman, and Bernice Barrett supported. Original music for this program is by Dick Arant. Bob Stevenson speaking. Jeff Regan, Investigator, is heard every Saturday over CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. For the past 3 weeks, a strong-arm hold-up man has been terrorizing the downtown area. You've got a description of the thief and a method of operation for him. Your job, find him.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, May 3rd. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Chief of Detectives Thad Brown. My name's Friday. I was on the way back to the office. It was 4:02 p.m. when I got to room 27. Robbery.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. Jim, how's it going?
Pretty good.
What do you got here?
That's a new gimmick they're trying.
Well, what's it do?
Suppose let all of us in the room hear what comes over the hotshot phone?
You mean without picking it up, huh?
Yeah.
Hmm? How's it work?
Look, I'll show you. This knob here is the volume control.
Mm-hmm.
You just turn it on, put the phone on it, like this. You have to adjust this little gizmo so it fits the earpiece. That's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm. Where do we hear it?
Through that speaker over there.
Uh-huh.
We got another one hooked up in the squad room.
Well, we ought to be able to hear it any place then, huh?
Yeah. You don't have to get up and pick up the receiver. You can hear the whole call. Should make it a lot easier.
We gonna keep it?
We're just trying it out the way it looks. We'll leave it in. Ought to save a lot of steps.
Yeah. Called a phonodeck, huh?
Yeah, works good. Lot better than trying to juggle a phone on your shoulder and write at the same time. And the desk man doesn't have to repeat what's said to everybody in the room.
That's all right. I only got one question.
What's that?
Wilson and Market Street, southeast corner, 211 and Slugging.
Never mind. I just got the answer.
Huh?
It works.
Wilson and Market Street, southeast corner, 211 and Slugging.
Frank, Jim Austin, and I left the city hall. There was no way of telling from the hotshot call if the suspect was the one we were looking for or not, but either way, we had to check it out. It took us 3 minutes to get to the scene. An ambulance was in the area, and they'd answered the call. The attendant was giving the victim first aid. She was a woman in her late 50s or early 60s.
Please. Oh, do something. I can't stand much more. Please do something.
All right if we talk to her? Yeah, make it brief. We got to move her in as soon as we can.
All right. Lady, I'm a police officer. I've got to talk to you.
Oh, go away. I can't talk to anybody. Can't you give me something? Please, it hurts so.
Oh, we'll take care of her. You just try to relax.
You got a name on her?
Cards there, Myra McFadden.
Miss McFadden, can you tell us who did it?
No reason. I'd give him money. He didn't have to kick me.
Was it one man?
When she asked for it, I'd given it to him.
Did you see who it was?
I can't stand it anymore, please.
What's wrong with her, dear?
The leg's broken, bad fracture went through the skin.
Can you tell us what happened, Miss McFadden?
He tried to grab my purse. I didn't know. He tried to take it away from me.
Yes, ma'am.
I wouldn't let him have it, and then he kicked me in the back, and I fell. Something happened to my leg. Oh, please do something, please.
Just a minute, Miss McFadden.
Oh, God, please help me.
Excuse me, Sergeant. I'll have to give her morphine injection.
Sure, right ahead.
Oh. Oh.
Was it a man?
Yes.
Was he tall?
Yes.
About 5'8" to 5'10", maybe?
I don't know.
Or was he dark?
Yes.
Did he say anything to you at all?
No. He just kicked me and I fell down.
Was he wearing a coat?
What?
Was he wearing a coat?
Coat?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I don't know. He just kicked me and I fell down. My leg doesn't hurt anymore. I can hardly feel it. Not anymore. It doesn't hurt now.
take her in now.
Right. What'd you find out, Jim? Anything?
Talked to the newsboy on the corner.
Did he see it?
At the beginning. Heard the woman scream, turned around, saw the guy bring his knee up into her back, dropped her on the sidewalk.
Did he get a look at him?
Yeah, fellow took off down that way. Newsboy ran after him when he realized he couldn't tag him. He came back, called the ambulance.
How about a description?
Gave that to the other fellows. They got it out.
Uh-huh. Well, how's it line up to you two?
All the way. It's the guy we're looking for.
Well, he switched his M.O. He's hitting in the daytime now.
Yeah.
Something else, that old lady. She's getting braver all the time. We talked to the witness, and what he told us about the suspect, it was the same person we were after. There was only one change in his method of operation. Instead of waiting for darkness, he was now hitting in the daylight hours. During the time we'd spent on the case, the staff's office had made several runs trying to give us some kind of a lead. Everything about the suspect had been checked and rechecked. Special show-ups were arranged, and possible suspects were shown to the victims. In spite of all our efforts, the suspect continued to run free. Wednesday, May 5th, Frank and I stopped for dinner across the street from the city hall.
The big thing now.
What's that?
Mambo. Mambo. Dance step. Faye's been trying to get me to learn. She sees it on TV all the time. Faye says a man looks sophisticated when he does it.
That's what she says, huh?
Yeah. You think it would?
Would what?
Make me look sophisticated.
Well, you want me to be honest?
Sure, Joe.
I don't think anything could do that for you.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it, old buddy. I'll tell Faye. Keep her off my back about taking them lessons.
Hi, Joe.
Oh, hi, Dick. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Donahoe said you was over here.
It's my partner, Frank Smith. This Dick Blake writes for the L.A. Examiner.
Hi. Haven't seen you for a while, Frank.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Dick.
Want a cup of coffee?
No, thanks. I just had dinner.
You looking for something special, Dick?
I'd like to get a story on the strong-arm man you fellas are after. Anything you can give me?
No, you got about all of it.
What about the McFadden woman? She gonna be all right?
Well, I haven't heard anything.
I called the county hospital this afternoon.
Yeah?
Said her leg's been set. Gonna take some time to heal. They're giving her a new kind of serum.
She gonna be all right, though, huh?
They're not sure yet. They don't know if there's any injury to her spine.
Yeah, sure, a rough one.
Well, that's the way this guy does business.
We've been getting calls for the last 10 days, letters to the editors, everything.
You can get in line, Dick. It's been coming at us from all sides.
What do you got on them?
Well, we ought to put out a mimeographed answer to that.
Well, we can take a lot of paper.
Is there anything I can have?
It's no secret. Most of the victims have told us the same story. Guy comes up to him and starts a conversation.
About a ride someplace, cup of coffee, anything slow the victim down from me.
First chance he gets, he slams the victim into a wall and asks for the money.
Now, before the McFadden woman, he worked at night, didn't he?
Yeah.
What about his choice of victims? A possible tie-in there?
Not that we can find. Anybody on the street is right.
You got a description on him?
Yeah, white male American, around 30, dark hair, dark eyes, 165 pounds, 5'8", 5'10".
That's a couple of thousand people.
Yeah. Now, what about the area he's working? Is there anything there?
Well, seems to make most of his pickups down around the plaza.
And what about the victims themselves?
What do you mean?
Well, they usually look like they're carrying money, or
No,
what?
not all the time. Last week he beat up a serviceman in civilian clothes. He took $44 from him. Kid didn't look like he had a dime in his pocket.
Yeah.
Nothing about this guy fits a pattern, Dick.
There's only one thing we can drop in a pocket. He's mean. The way it works, the kick he gets out of beating up a person, it's got to mean more than just money to him.
Yeah. Well, one more thing. How close are you?
Outside a country mile.
Yeah.
Half the division's been on his tail. This keeps up, and Metro's going to ask for an increase in budget to hire more men. We got the area covered like rain, and he don't get wet.
Well, I got to get back to the office. Write something.
Try to take it easy on us, will you?
Look, we're on your side. Now, thanks for the help.
Okay, see you around, huh?
Right. So long, Frank.
Take it cool, man.
Yeah. Anything comes up, let me know, huh?
We get something, you'll hear about it.
Sure like to get a break on the story.
Well, we're both even there.
Huh?
So would we. For the next week, the patrol of the streets continued. The strong-arm bandit hit 3 more times. Each time, the victim and the witnesses gave us the same description. It matched the suspect we were looking for. Thursday, May 13th, 7:52 p.m. We got back to the squad room.
Anything come in?
Yeah. Kick back on Whitey.
How's it look?
No good.
What do you mean?
Well, according to Bratton, he's been in jail for the last 2 months.
Yeah?
He's waiting for trial in Stockton.
What does it say what he fell for?
Armed robbery.
Graduated, huh?
Yeah, looks like it. I get it. Robbery Friday. Hello? Yeah, well, could you speak up? I can't hear you. Yeah, that's better. How's that? Well, what was that name again? Yeah, well, now give me your name. No, we can't do much with that.
What do you got?
Fellow says the name of the strong-arm bandit's Benny Jessup.
Well, what about the person who called?
Hung up.
Anonymous, huh?
Yeah.
What do you think?
That was one way to find out.
Yeah?
Ask Benny Jessup. After we checked the name through R&I, Frank and I went out to Benny Jessup's address.
Yeah? Who is it?
Benny Jessup?
Hal, what do you want?
You Benny Jessup?
Yeah.
Police officers want to talk to you.
You looking for something special?
A couple of questions we want to ask you.
Sure, I got no beef with the cops. Appreciate it if you keep it short. I got big trouble. Hope this seltzer might help. Must have got a hold of some bad food. Really? Excuse me.
Yeah.
What's it all about?
You ever been arrested, Jessup?
Yeah, look, it'd be a lot easier and faster if I started off telling you I've been in the route, huh? You guys checked the record before you came up here. You know I fell once for burglary. You know I'm free now. Don't owe nobody nothing. Let's go from there.
All right, you got a job?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm a candy butcher.
What's that?
I sell candy.
Where?
One of the theaters downtown.
When do you work?
Nights.
Name them.
Monday through Saturday.
What hours?
Check in at 4, work till 11, 11:30.
How come you're not there tonight?
I told you, I'm sick.
How long you had the job?
Oh, a couple of years.
Anybody at the theater to back that up?
What do you mean?
Well, anybody will say you're there.
Look, you better tell me what this is about, huh? I'm not hung up on anything. I got no part of any action you guys are in on.
Well, it comes down to one thing. If you can prove you're working every night, you're clean.
Yeah, I know that now.
How do you sell this candy? Where are you in the theater when you work?
All over, storeroom, lobby, all over.
You got a regular stand, or you work in the aisles?
Stand in the lobby.
Somebody there to take the tickets?
Yeah.
Well, I ought to be able to tell it then, shouldn't I?
Tell you nothing. I've been working since I got out of the joint. You go down there and start asking a lot of questions, you're going to cause a lot of trouble.
Is that right?
Liable to get me fired.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, easy to say. You haven't got the job.
Better call and check, huh?
Yeah. You got a phone?
You see one around?
Give me the number.
I don't know it.
You work there, but you don't know the phone number.
I forgot.
Where is the place?
Corner 3rd and Weller.
What's the manager's name?
You got to talk to him?
Now, look, I can do it on the phone, or we can go on down there. How do you want it?
Name's Woodrum.
I'll check it, Joe.
Well, if you tell me what this is about.
If it fits, you'll know.
Who turned you on me?
What?
Look, who tried the box job? You got reason to come up here. I don't know what you're digging for, but I'm not around. Somebody gave you my name, didn't they?
We heard it.
Who?
If we told you the truth, you wouldn't believe it.
Somebody I know?
It's hard to say.
You just need 2 words.
What's that?
First and last name.
We got a call. We don't know who it was from. Person said we were looking for you.
And you barrel up here and roust me?
You got no rousting. We had to check it out.
What is it, burglary?
No.
Well, and I'm home free. Only thing I ever fell for. I learned.
How about it?
You talk to Woodrum?
Yeah.
What about my job?
His alibi hold?
He's been there every work night for the last 4 months.
And I told you that.
All right, you're out, but somebody's on your back.
Nothing new. I've been carrying a lot of people.
All right, Jessup, we'll leave it right there. Keep your nose clean.
Thanks a lot, cop. I'm not sure I want you on my team.
Huh?
But what about my job? What did Woodrum say?
You got no trouble.
What do you mean?
He says take care of yourself.
Yeah?
Be at work tomorrow night.
We'll see you around, Jessup.
I didn't tell him everything.
What?
I talked to the manager on the phone. He filled me in.
Yeah.
You know the guy who called you?
Yeah, what about him?
He's an usher down there.
Yeah.
He wants to be a candy butcher.
Frank and I left Jessup and went downtown to talk to the theater manager in person. He verified the fact that Jessup had been at work during the hours of the robberies. Other people who worked in the theater were questioned. Their statements ruled out Jessup as our suspect. Another day went by. There were several strong-arm robberies in the downtown area, but none with the same viciousness used by our suspect. Saturday, May 15th, Frank and I got back to the office.
Hi, Joe. Frank.
Jim?
Hi.
What do you got there?
Talked to Skipper this afternoon. Had a meeting with Chief Brown.
Yeah.
They drew the line, said we got to come up with something.
Well, we got half a minute Metro working on it now. All the streets are covered. There's not much more we can do.
The guy's got to make a mistake. All we need is a little time.
Skipper just cut off the supply.
You have any ideas?
Yeah, I've been going over it. Take a look at this map.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the strong arms have been taking place in this area.
Yeah.
We've had cars here, along here, and covering the alleys in here.
Mm-hmm.
But suppose we put our own men in that area on foot.
Decoy system, huh?
Yeah, only thing we haven't tried.
Well, it might work.
Something to do.
How do we set it up?
Guy makes most of his pickups around the plaza, right?
That's right.
And we start from there. Each night, one of us walks around the streets, try to pick the guy up. Other two follow in a car.
What's the captain think of the idea?
Haven't talked to him yet. He can't be. It's a possibility.
When do we start?
How about tonight?
Well, let's go.
Wait a minute. Who's going to do the walking?
Doesn't make a lot of difference.
How about flipping a coin?
All right.
I bad?
Fine.
That's one you didn't get, Joe.
Yeah.
I win.
I hope so. For the next 2 days, the plan was carried out. The thief didn't hit. We began to wonder if he'd quit his operation. Monday, May 17th, while Frank and Jim Austin followed me in Unit 1K80, I acted as decoy. 12:47 a.m. It looked like another wasted night.
You got a match?
Yeah.
How about a cigarette?
Sure.
All right, how about a light? Give me your wallet.
Try and take it, huh?
Sidney! Sidney!
All right, fella, where are you going?
Let me go!
Okay. Get up there. Get your hands against the wall. Come on, move. All right, now get your hands in back of you. All right.
Come on, don't shove, cop.
Just do as you're told. It'll save you a lot of trouble.
Jim?
Yeah, here you go.
All right, you. Hands down. Turn around. What's your name?
Why don't you find out?
We will. We want to save time.
Joe Schaefer.
What's your name, fella? What's your name?
You're not going to do any good with him.
What do you mean?
He's deaf. His hearing aid's broken. You're not getting through at all.
Is that so? Well, then you tell us his name.
Sidney Remler.
Just the two of you in this?
You see anybody else?
I asked you a question.
You got an answer?
What'd you tell him? I can't hear what you said.
Never mind. I told you wouldn't get through to him.
You got it wrong.
Huh?
We'll get through.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Frank, Jim Austin, and I took the suspects to the city hall for questioning.
You guys got nothing on us.
You're sitting in the wrong place, fella.
That right?
We got you made on tonight. Time we get through, we'll tag you for at least 10 more counts.
You better stick to coffee.
Isn't anybody going to let me know what's going on?
Can't you fix that thing
We'll
for
get
me?
it taken care of.
Where do you guys live?
Big cop, that's what you pay
All
for.
right, we can do it the hard way if that's how you want it.
You get no help from me.
That works both ways.
Oh, you're whistling anyway. You maybe got us for tonight, that's all.
What's going on?
Oh, shut up.
Be careful what you tell them.
You guys work alone?
You got a reason to think there's anybody else?
We want you to tell us.
You're off your rocker, cop.
You better put a button on that mouth, Schaefer. The way you've treated people doesn't give you a soft ticket.
Doesn't make any difference how I got it. I'm going to ride it all the way.
Yeah, well, you stick with that and see where you land.
Really off your rocker.
Isn't anybody going to tell me what's going on? All right, take everything out of your pocket, Schaefer.
What?
Come on.
Just put it right there on the table. A lot of paper there. You always carry that much money?
Yeah.
How much is there?
I don't know.
You must have some idea.
All right, maybe $300-400.
You work for a living?
No.
Where'd you get the money?
From a bank.
What'd you use to take it out?
What?
A gun or a pen?
I didn't steal it if that's what you're trying to build.
A lot of money.
How'd you get it?
My old man left it to me.
Well, you don't work at all, then, huh?
No, I don't believe in it.
How about him?
No, he doesn't work either.
What did he say about me?
He wants to know if you work.
Huh?
He wants to know if you work.
No, none of us do. Giles, Dave, and me have incomes. None of us work.
Shut up.
Who's Dave?
I don't know.
Now, look, we're about through playing games with you. You come in here like you're 12 feet tall and try to throw your weight around. Well, it isn't going to work. The sooner you realize it, the better it's going to be for you. Now, how about it?
Who is he?
You know we'll come up with it.
How much do you think he'll do to get you out of here?
What he can.
No, that's not going to hold your stuff. You can call it two ways, easy and yours. Now, which is it going to be? How about it?
What do you want to know?
This Dave, what's his full name?
Sansell.
Was he with you in all the robberies?
Yeah.
What about tonight?
Stayed home.
Why?
He set up all the others. We figured we'd pull this one by ourselves.
Where's he now?
I don't know. Home, I guess.
Where's that?
An apartment out on Fountain.
That's in Hollywood?
Yeah.
What's the phone number?
What are you going to do?
Just give me the phone number, will you?
Hollywood 98844.
I'll dial it. You just talk.
You going to use the gadget, Joe?
Yeah, we might as well. We can all listen. It's Hollywood 98844. When he answers, you just talk right into that thing.
Hello.
Hello, Dave?
Yeah, this you, Jones?
Yeah.
Sydney with you?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Pretty good.
You coming home right away?
Yeah.
I'll go out and get some beer. I should be back by the time you guys get in.
Okay, Dave. We'll see you.
As soon as you get home, we'll have a celebration, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll give the girls a call. Sound all right to you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, one thing, though.
What's that, Dave?
You know that Helen always got a couple of crow girlfriends around. You better stop on the way home, huh?
What for?
Well, see if you can pick up a couple more guys.
We ran David Santel's name and description through R&I, and we found that he'd served a term at the county jail for violation of the State Narcotics Act. There was no record on either Giles Schaefer or Sidney Remler. Remler was taken to the main jail, and Frank and I, along with Jim Austin and Giles Schaefer, drove out to Santel's apartment. It was a large place in the Hollywood area. While Jim Austin stayed with the suspect, Frank and I checked with the manager. He told us that Santel had left a few minutes before we got to the place. The four of us went inside. All right, now you go on over there and sit down.
You guys sure throw muscle around.
Yeah, we got a long way to catch you.
All right, what am I supposed to do when Dave comes back?
Just sit there and keep your mouth shut.
You know, it's going to be pretty interesting.
What's that?
The expression on your face when the judge turns us loose.
Well, don't make book on that.
Place is clean, Joe.
Right.
You guys never do one honest day's work, and you always live high, don't you? Stay there, Schaefer.
Aren't you all set?
Yeah. Watch your face!
Now, is there anything else you want to throw?
No.
You cause me more trouble, I'll make a hole in you big enough to walk through.
All right.
Turn around.
It's clean. Put your hands down.
You don't need those. I'm not going to give you any trouble.
Let's make sure.
I told you not to put those on me. Try to muscle us, cop. I got a lawyer. You're going to be on the carpet for this. Time we get through with you, I'll have you walking the beach so far out, you'll be lucky to get home on weekends.
You know, you punks make me sick to my stomach. You lean on some old man or woman, you strong-arm a serviceman, you got about as much guts as an underfed worm.
Why don't you save it for the court,
You sit on your mouth, fella. I'll let you know when I'm through. I'm going to tell you something. You remember what happened to you tonight. You put it on the wire and get it around to the rest of the two-bit bums that work this same filthy operation. You tell them every time they put the arm on an old man, every time they slug a serviceman, they're never going to know. It might be a cop, and if it's not, there'll be four of us waiting in the next doorway. So before you roll that next victim, you think about that, will you?
You got it all off your chest now?
No, I got one more thing for you. You're going to jail, and we're going to drop every book we got on you. There's a mirror in the car. On the way in, you look at it and smile.
What for?
Be happy you still got all those teeth.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On September 14th, trial was held in Department 98, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. Giles Herbert Schaefer, David Arthur Santel, and Sidney Thomas Remler were tried and convicted of robbery in the first degree, 14 counts, and received sentence as prescribed by law. Robbery in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for not less than 5 years on each count. Because of the viciousness shown by the suspects, their sentences were set to run consecutively.
Dragnet is a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.
ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a juvenile detail. In the past 6 weeks, a junior high school has been broken into 3 times, and extensive damage has been done by vandals. Your job, investigate.
It was Monday, March 9th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of juvenile detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Powers. My name's Friday. We were on our way out from the office. It was 8:32 a.m. when we got to the Hillside Junior High School, the vice principal's office.
Good morning. May I help you?
Yes, ma'am. Police officers. We'd like to see Miss Ridley.
Oh, yes. You've been here before, haven't you?
That's right.
Uh-huh. Miss Ridley's expecting you. You can go right in.
Thank you very much.
Come in. Good morning, officers. Come in, please, and sit down.
Thank you.
You seem to be getting more than our share of trouble.
Yes, ma'am. What is it this time?
Same as before, a little more serious.
Cafeteria?
Yes, wait until you see the place. Just downright vandalism. Food thrown all over on the walls and the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't stop there.
What do you mean?
The student's supply store was broken into. In fact, that's where the entrance was made.
Yeah?
Girl in charge says that a number of items are missing.
What was taken?
Things the students use in school. Notebooks, pencils, fountain pens.
I see.
There were a lot of transportation books taken, too.
Those are the kind the kids use on the buses and streetcars, don't you
Yes,
mean?
that's right.
Well, they have serial numbers, don't they?
Yes, we keep a record of them in the office.
You'll be able to give us a list of the numbers on the missing books?
Oh, yes.
All right, fine. What if we could take a look at that storeroom?
Surely. It's right next to the office. I wasn't so sure the last time, but I am now.
What do you mean?
About who's responsible for this.
You got an idea who might have done it?
Well, I'm pretty sure it must be a student or a former student.
Why do you say that, Miss Ridley?
No, there's the window they entered.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody must have known that this window opened into the storeroom.
Yeah. Screen's torn here and the window's broken. You have somebody special in mind who might have done this?
No, it wouldn't be fair to cast suspicion on any boy or girl without proof.
Well, have you had trouble with any students since we were here last?
Yes?
What was wrong, ma'am?
During study periods, a group of 5 boys were causing minor disturbances.
Uh-huh.
But it's all been straightened out. I had a talk with the leader of the group. Found out he wanted to take part in school athletics. His parents didn't want him to, afraid he might be injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I called them in for a conference. We talked, and they finally agreed to let the boy participate in school sports.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there was to it. Haven't had any trouble since.
How about the other boys?
They weren't really bad. Without a leader, they just settled down. I'm sure it wasn't any of them.
Mm-hmm. Wonder if you could tell us if anything has been moved in here.
No. This is just the way we found it.
Mm-hmm. Wonder why they didn't mess this room up, too.
I don't know. I've been teaching for 20 years, and I'm pretty sure of one thing.
What's that, ma'am?
Children do wrong, but not because they want to be tough or brave. Usually because they're afraid of something.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are pretty frightened kids. They need help.
Well, we'll buy that.
The problem is, what happens to them if they don't get it?
I'm afraid you know the answer to that one better than I do. They'll still be around.
Yes?
As frightened adults. In the cafeteria, we found conditions about the same as we had after the previous acts of vandalism at the school. The refrigerator had been ransacked. Cartons of milk, along with containers of ice cream and frozen foods, had been smashed against the walls and the floor. The tables had been overturned, and the chairs had been thrown around and broken. The floor was covered with glass. Frank put in a call to Leighton Prince, and they sent a crew out to go over the storeroom and the cafeteria. Miss Ridley told us that she had already notified school security. Before we left, she furnished us with a complete list of stolen articles and the serial numbers for the missing student transportation books. We returned to Georgia Street and met with Captain Powers.
You're pretty sure it's juveniles?
Yeah, the kind of stuff that was taken. The damage done sure points that way.
Any help from Miss Ridley? Yeah, but she couldn't give us any names. No teacher-pupil problem.
Yeah, she mentioned a minor case. It said it had been cleared up.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third time in 6 weeks for the school, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kids don't usually travel very far for these deals. It's a good chance that some of them from the school.
Well, the way it looks, if they try to peddle this stuff to the other kids, we might be able to get a lead on them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hitch to that, though.
What do you mean?
Well, Miss Ridley said that she was going to make an announcement to the student body.
Yeah.
She's going to tell them to be on the lookout for the stolen article.
Mm-hmm. Kids that took the stuff from school, they might lay low for a while.
That's it.
How much was taken?
About $500 worth of school supplies.
A pretty good haul.
Yeah.
What do you want to do about it?
Well, if it's all right with you, Frank and I'd like to put a stake out on the school.
All right, when?
We know the janitors work into the early morning hours on Fridays.
Yeah.
So it figures the school must be broken into sometime on Saturday or Sunday.
All right, when do you want to start?
This coming weekend.
Okay, I'll arrange a clearance for you with school security.
Right.
Any more help you need, let me know.
Whoever did it must have something against the cafeteria. The place was a real mess.
Yeah?
Bad enough the first couple of times. Didn't leave anything in the freezers this trip. Sure doesn't make much sense.
I don't know, maybe it does.
What?
Each time they hit the cafeteria, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't tear up the storeroom.
We threw a few pencil boxes around, that's about all.
Yes, but every time food has been destroyed.
That's right.
Well, we got a reason for doing it.
Yeah?
Somebody that can't resist the urge to eat all the time doesn't like being overweight. So without knowing why they do it, they destroy food.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a part of it anyway. It's only a theory, but it might hold water.
Yeah, well, that's true, but we don't know if it's a gang we're after or just one person. Another thing, they've broken in 3 times. Might have been by different kids.
Good questions, all of them.
Yeah.
That's why you get paid, to get the answers.
We kept in contact with Miss Ridley during the rest of the week, but as far as she knew, none of the stolen articles showed up. Captain Powers talked with the school security section of the Board of Education, and Frank and I staked out in the school on Saturday and Sunday. There was no disturbance. We went back the following weekend. Saturday passed without trouble. Sunday, 7:34 p.m., we were sitting in the vice principal's office.
Right, yeah. Right.
All right, son, come on. Party's over. What? Come on, tell out. Grab him, Giant. Let me go.
All right, take it easy, boy. Now, take it easy. This isn't going to help. Just hold still. What's your name?
Jerry.
What's your last name?
Beckle.
You've done this before? Come on, son, answer me. All right, let's go.
You gonna put me in jail?
We'll see.
Not afraid of you cops.
There's no reason you should be. Why'd you throw all this food around?
I don't know.
You haven't got a reason?
No. She went to a lot of trouble to catch me.
Not too much, son.
Huh?
You made it easy. Before leaving the school, Frank called school security and notified them of the broken window and the damage done by Jerry Beckel. We drove back to Georgia Street to question the subject further. On the way down, he refused to say anything. At the office, he told us he lived at 1206 Walnut Street. Frank went to check Central Juvenile Index. 8:42 p.m.
That's all. Not going to tell you any more.
Now, let's get one thing straight, son. You're in trouble. We'd like to help you, but you got to play ball with us. We'll level with you, but you got to play it the same way. Now, do you understand?
Yeah.
All right. Now, we can't do anything for you unless you want us to. Unless we know why you do these things, it'll be pretty hard for you to find a way out. Is that clear?
Guess so.
Well, the only way we can find out is if you tell us the truth.
Joe?
Yeah.
The boy has no previous record.
Mm-hmm. All right, how about it? You ready to answer our questions now, son?
Sure. But it won't do any good.
Why do you say that?
Can't change my looks, can you?
Well, why? There's no reason to do that. You look healthy to me.
Sure, I'm healthy. Fat and ugly, too. That's why I had the trouble with Miss Ridley.
Well, now, suppose you tell us about it.
She kicked me out of school.
Why?
Fighting.
Who were you fighting with?
Oh, different guys.
Why'd you fight?
Called me names.
All right, go ahead.
It isn't my fault. I can't help how I look.
You sure that's why you had the fight?
They wouldn't let me alone. Suppose you think I'm real good looking, huh?
Son, I told you we'd level with you. You're not an ugly kid. Now, it seems to me you're imagining a lot.
Sure. I suppose they call me Lard Barrel and Witchman because they imagine it, too, huh?
Maybe they got another reason.
Like what?
To needle you. If you didn't let them know it bothered you, they probably wouldn't have kept it up. They called you names to get you into fights. Don't you think that's it?
That's what you say.
Well, that's what we believe.
She didn't have to kick me out of school.
How many fights you have, Jack?
I don't know.
Well, you must have some idea.
Quite a few.
Miss Ridley talked to you?
Yeah.
She gave you more than one chance, didn't she?
Yeah. But the kids kept after me. Wouldn't let me alone.
You don't like Miss Ridley, do you?
Why should I?
Is that why you broke into the school?
Maybe.
How many times did you go in?
3.
Did you steal the things from the storeroom?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Oh.
You live with your father and mother?
Yeah.
Any brothers or sisters?
2 brothers, 3 sisters.
Well, now, when you had the trouble at school, did Miss Ridley talk to your parents?
No.
She didn't get in touch with them at all, huh?
Sure, she tried, but they didn't go in to see her.
Is there any reason why they didn't?
No, just didn't go, that's all.
Well, I guess we better go out and have a talk with them this time.
Why?
Well, they'll have to know about this trouble that you're in. Maybe if we talk to them, we can sort of work this problem out together, don't you think?
That won't do any good.
Why not, son?
They think I'm fat and ugly.
Jerry Beckel went on to say that he was now attending the Jansen School, one of 2 maintained in the city for juveniles who have difficulty making adjustments in normal school life. He also told us that on all 3 occasions he had been alone when he broke into the Hillside School. We drove out to his home. It was a small frame house badly in need of repair. We met his father, Henry Beckel. We told him the reason for our visit.
So you just can't stay out of trouble. First it's fighting and you get kicked out of school. Now this mess. What's the matter with you anyhow?
I don't know, Dad.
Excuse me, Mr. Beckel, but this kind of talk isn't going to get us anywhere. Your son has a definite problem and he needs help.
Sure, he's got a problem. He's no good. Never has been, never will be.
We'll take the boy outside.
Sure.
Come on, son.
I suppose you're going to give me the answers. You sound like you think it's my fault he got into this trouble.
Well, you might have helped keep him out of it.
Sure, just follow him around all day and night, slap his wrist when he steps out of line.
You were asked to go over to his school when he had trouble before. Why didn't you go?
I didn't have the time. I got to worry about 5 other kids. They got to eat. Can't be taking time away from work just because one of them can't keep his nose clean.
What about your wife?
What do you mean?
Well, couldn't she have gone over to the school?
Why don't you ask her?
Is she here now?
Nope. Gone out, probably at a movie. So she has to have some fun, so she leaves me with the kids.
Is there any reason why she couldn't go and talk with Miss Ridley about your son, Jerry?
Yeah. She figured it was his own problem. So he has to learn to fight his own battles.
Well, that's fine when you know what you're fighting. Your boy doesn't.
There's nothing the matter with him.
That's where you're wrong. Your son has an inferiority complex about his looks.
Oh, big deal.
That's one of the things that's wrong with him.
You trying to tell me he gets into trouble because of the way he feels about his looks?
It's possible that's a good part of it.
You gonna have to go to jail?
I'm afraid he will.
Don't you put kids on probation sometimes, let the parents look after them?
Yeah, when they have parents.
Couldn't you do that for Jerry?
If you could show the authorities that you'd be responsible for him, it might work out.
I could do that.
There's something more you got to do. Find time to talk to him. We took the subject along with the recovered stolen property back to Georgia Street. The next day, Miss Ridley came down and identified the articles as those taken from the school storeroom. She said that Jerry Beckel had been in numerous fights before he was dismissed from school. During her investigation of the disorder, she found that Beckel had provoked several of the fights. She went on to say that the subject had been a below-average student, showing little interest in academic work. A petition was filed in Beckel's behalf with the juvenile court. The petition was sustained, and he was placed on probation with the Los Angeles County Probation Department and allowed to remain in the custody of his parents. March 31st, 8:06 a.m.
I just picked up the reports for yesterday. You want to check them over?
Yeah, all right, thanks.
I saw the skipper on the way in.
Yeah?
You remember that Austin boy?
Car thief, wasn't he?
Yeah. Violated his probation. Picked up again last night.
Too bad. What was that kid's name on the Hillside School case, that heavy-set boy?
One that thought he was so ugly?
Yeah, that's the one.
Beckel or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What about him?
Well, look here. The description on this report fits him. And listen to this. Victim states the subject said to her, "What are you smiling for, because I'm so ugly?"
It might be. What's the charge?
Pretty bad this time.
Yeah.
Attempted robbery and shooting.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
The robbery and shooting had occurred the previous night about 7:30 p.m. We checked with the Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, and we found the victim, Linda Cotterly, had been treated for a minor flesh wound in the leg. She'd been shot with a .22 caliber pistol. The hospital report showed that she'd been released and allowed to return home. We contacted the officers working the case and checked the reports that had been filed. We asked if we could talk to the victim. Frank and I drove out to the address, and we were admitted by her sister. Linda Cotterly was lying on a couch in the front room. We identified ourselves and asked her if she'd mind going over the story for us.
I told the other officers all about it.
Yes, we understand that. We saw their report, but we appreciate your telling us just what happened.
Well, guess it won't do no harm. Suppose if more of you know about it, you'll have a better chance to catch a little stinker.
That's right, ma'am.
I shouldn't have said that.
Ma'am?
Little stinker. He was a big stinker.
Oh, yeah.
Could have killed me. Gives me cold chills thinking about it.
We can understand.
I wonder if you'd do something for me.
Yes, ma'am. What's that?
There's an Afghan on the sewing machine in the dining room. Would you get it for me?
Sure.
Thank you.
I wonder if you'd tell us the story.
Sure. Well, you know I was shot in the leg right here.
Yes, we know.
First, I thought it was just some kid playing a joke.
Here you are, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Smith. Would you just drape it over me? Gently now.
All right.
That's fine, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you said you thought it was a joke when this boy tried to hold you up.
Yeah, he was so young looking. Couldn't have been more than 15 or 16.
Yeah.
He was sort of chubby. Didn't look mean at all. I guess I should have been scared, but I wasn't. I just smiled.
Did he say anything when he approached you?
About it being a hold-up, you mean?
That's right.
No. Came up to me, had a gun in his hand.
That's when you smiled.
That's right.
Then what happened?
He got a real mad look on his face. Made him look tough.
Is that when he spoke to you?
How'd you know?
Well, it's in the report.
That's right, I'd forgotten. Well, then I guess I can skip the part about what he said.
We'd like to hear his exact words if you can remember them.
He said, "What are you smiling for, because I'm so ugly?"
Mm-hmm. Did you get a good look at him?
Yes and no.
How do you mean that?
Well, I did see him, but I don't remember his face too well. I know he was young. Not too good looking, but it's hard to say just what he did look like.
You think you'd know him if you ever saw him again?
Might. It's pretty dark, I'm not sure.
All right, what happened after he spoke to you?
I said no, meaning I didn't think he was ugly. And they told me to give him my purse. That's when it happened.
What was that, then?
I got scared. I knew he wasn't fooling. I screamed and started running. Then I heard the noise, gunfire.
Right, go ahead.
Then I felt a sting on my leg when the bullet hit me. Kept on running, went past a vacant lot. Kept screaming, and then I saw a man across the street open his front door and look out. I ran up to him, told him I'd been shot, and he called the police.
When you said this person was chubby, did you mean he was fat?
Well, he was kind of big around the middle, and his face was sort of round-like.
How about his hair? Was it dark?
Yeah.
Did you notice if it was straight or wavy?
No. Tell me, you got an idea who this kid was?
Well, we're not sure.
I know one thing.
What's that?
The kid should be taught a lesson. Only one thing to do with them when they're that rotten. Slap them around a little and just forget about them.
Well, that's the trouble here. That's what they did to this boy. Frank and I went back to the office and checked the records on the petition, and we found that the subject's father, Henry Beckel, was employed at a lumber yard. We drove down to the place and found him stacking lumber in the back lot.
What's on your mind this time?
How's Jerry been getting along?
All right, I guess.
Attending school regularly?
As far as I know, haven't had any bad reports.
What's he been doing nights?
He stays in the house. Goes out once in a while, never too late. Why?
Where was he Monday night?
Home.
All night?
Yeah.
How about Tuesday?
After supper, he went out for a while, came in early. Why?
How's your son been acting lately?
What do you mean?
Has he had any trouble at school?
I told you I haven't had any bad reports from him.
How about at home?
No trouble. We're trying to help him.
Well, and as far as you know, he's been in pretty good spirits. Is that right?
Look, you know he's no ball of fire, but he seems to be happy enough.
Uh-huh.
What is all this, anyway?
We're just checking something out.
Well, the way you ask questions, it sounds like you think Jerry's in trouble again.
No, we didn't say that.
Well, you don't have to. I know what you're getting at, and I don't like it.
No reason to get upset.
They're right. How would you feel? Jerry's been released to my custody. You're as much as telling me I haven't been doing the right thing.
Well, if you're sure of that in your own mind, you don't have anything to worry about, do you?
Well, I've done what I can, but I can't watch him all the time. What's he supposed to have done this time?
We're not sure he's done anything.
He wouldn't be nosing around if he didn't have some reason.
Just something we got to check.
All right. But if he got off on the wrong foot again, don't try to pin any tails on me. I've been doing the right thing. But I don't mind telling you, I've never been too sure he would straighten out.
Is that right?
Yeah. But I'm doing what I can for him.
Yeah?
I feed him. I put clothes on his back. I put a roof over his head. What more can I give him?
You own a gun, Mr. Beckel?
What?
I said you own a gun.
Yeah, why?
What kind?
.22 pistol.
We drove over to the Jansen school and we talked to the principal. We explained our business, and he told us that Jerry Beckel hadn't been in school all day. We drove out to the boy's home. We met his mother. He said he wasn't there, but he'd probably be home about 5 o'clock. We went back to the car and waited. At 4:30 p.m., Henry Beckel returned from work. He drove into the yard, and we met him at the back door.
So you're here again?
That's right. Let's go in the house, Beckel.
You want it.
Go ahead.
You want to tell me what this is all about now?
We'd like to talk to Jerry first.
Well, if you want to see him, why didn't you go over to his school?
We did. He wasn't there today.
The kid's up to his old tricks again.
Oh, they found you.
This is my wife.
Big mess. What's the trouble?
Jerry again. He wasn't in school today.
Is that all? We should get out of the kitchen so I can fix supper.
Yeah. You guys want to come on into the other room?
All right. While we're waiting for your son, I wonder if you'd get that gun for us.
Why I should?
You got no choice, fella.
It's in the closet.
You said that before. Now, where is it?
Over there.
Where?
It's in that box, a small flat one.
This one here?
Yeah.
When's the last time you fired this?
I don't know. It's been quite a while.
What do you think?
It smells like it was fired recently.
What time does Jerry usually get home, Beckel?
We eat at 5:30. He'll be here by then.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to worry about him not showing up. He might skip school, but that fat, lazy slob won't miss a meal.
Mm-hmm.
Eats twice as much as the other kids. No wonder he looks like he does.
Let's go.
Right.
Go on in and wash your face.
Hi, son.
Hi. What do you want?
Afraid we're going to have to take you with us.
Can he eat first?
It won't hurt him any to miss a meal. Look at him. Looks like a fat toad. Well, why don't you say
All
something?
right. Doesn't make any difference. You'd like to be rid of me anyway.
Take it easy, son.
You all want to hear it? Okay, I'll tell you. I shot her.
We took Jerry Beckel down to Georgia Street for further questioning. After the outbreak at his home, he quieted down and he refused to say anything more. We talked to him for an hour, and he finally admitted the whole story.
All right, son, why'd you take the gun?
To get some money, I guess.
And now, was that the only way you could get it?
I don't know.
You could have gotten a job.
I tried to.
Yeah?
Nobody wanted me.
Well, how many people you asked for work?
Just one place.
And then you gave up.
That was enough. I knew I wouldn't get a job.
Did they tell you they wouldn't give you work?
Didn't have to. I knew just the way they looked at me.
Did you ever ask your father for money?
Yeah. He gave me, and he just read me off.
What did he say to you?
What he always does. I'm fat, lazy, not good for anything but put my feet under the table and eat.
So you decided to get out and rob somebody, huh?
Yeah.
Why'd you shoot at the woman?
I'm not sure.
Well, she didn't do you any harm, did she?
No. She made me mad, laughed at me, just like all the rest.
She did, huh?
Sure. Because I'm fat.
She say that?
No. I could tell what she was thinking.
You could, huh?
People shouldn't laugh at somebody just because they're fat.
Yeah.
They got no right to do that.
Maybe. But how much did you have?
Huh?
When you shot her?
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On July 14th, trial was held in Department 98, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. Jerome Howard Beckel was remanded to the juvenile authorities and placed in the foster home, where he was assured of 24-hour supervision. One of the conditions of his probation was that he receive psychiatric aid by a doctor appointed by the court.
Dragnet. The story of your police force in action is a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.